Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Hopefully, you can all hear us. We've had a few technical problems. They always say that the return or the rematch is often better than the first part. Hopefully, that's going to be the case for us this evening because I don't know what's going on with that first recording, but we've managed to get back out here again and we're going to persevere. Hopefully, all you guys can hear us and we'll be able to get a podcast out this week on iTunes. If nothing else, sometimes just a case of recreating the video, the hangout, and just going again. So you'll have missed the expert analysis of Andy Patterson and a little bit of Smido in the first part. So we're just going to try and pick up as best we can. And if there is going to be a bit of repetition from the panel, then apologies for that because I've sort of lost track on where we're sitting. Tommy, I believe I was just coming to you whenever we had to restart that video, and a question from our friend Craig Mastro. I think he was saying something about Dave Coldwell, Tommy. He had a bit of a mare last night. He got a bit spiky with the interview, didn't he? And I think Craig was asking basically, with Tony Bellew expected to lose next week, with David Price losing, with McDonald losing, is Coldwell on a bit of a bad run? I think he is, Tommy.
Well, I can kind of understand how he lost the plot a wee bit last night. He's been getting a bit of stick on Twitter and that recently. Obviously, it started with McDonald, the Jamie McDonald fight when most people thought Jamie lost the fight, and then there was obviously Price. He got the blame for Price a lot, but what I'll say about Coldwell, I said it on Twitter as well, none of the fighters he had were ever fancy to win world titles. Jamie McDonald was once viewed as a domestic fighter. He was always got to be around British level and that. Then he's came up. He's done really well for himself. Won world titles. He should have actually had a push in a 3 world titles. If you look at Bellew, fancied Bellew to win a world title, did they? He was going to be British European level. So I think you've got to tip your hat to Dave Coldwell. I think he's done a good job. He's got 2 world champions. One should have been a unified world champion. Gavin McDonald's fought for a world title. I think he's done a really good job, and I can understand why he's cracked a wee bit last night. It doesn't matter what will happen next week. Bellew will still have the title at cruiserweight. Is Bellew the best cruiserweight in the world? I think we all know he's no, but at the end of the day, he's won the title, and I think Coldwell's done a good job with his fighters, and he'll continue to do a good job. He's going to get more fighters in the future. I think he's a good coach.
Tommy, do you want to say something about Gavin himself, just briefly, about his performance last night?
I don't think. Look, I had him losing every round. I had it 120, 108. I think rounds 10 and 11 were fairly competitive. I still gave the edge to the Mexican fighter whose name has actually escaped me. What's his name again? Vargas.
Yeah.
I don't think he disgraced himself in the fact that he came forward all night. He tried to make a fight. He did put the pressure on late, and he was getting hit with. Vargas was landing a lot of big shots. He was landing his left hook to the body. His jab was consistent all night. He was landing some good shots, and I didn't discourage McDonald. I had him losing the fight clearly. That's a good experience for him. First time fighting at that level. I don't agree with what Paul Smith was saying last night. When Paul Smith's looking at Gavin McDonald losing for a world title, he's actually talking about himself, isn't he? I fought for a world title. I lost, but I'm still world class. That's you're pretty much bullshit you're getting for him, isn't it? McDonald come again. He could win a European title. I don't think he's ever going to be world level, but we've seen Coldwell working wonders in the past before. But I quite enjoyed the fight. McDonald made a decent scrap yet, although he was outclassed.
Smido, Tommy mentioned Paul Smith there. I know we've heard from you, but just regarding, from your vantage point on the sofa, how did you think the commentary team got on? Because Matt Ports was asking us on Facebook, he said, does Paul Smith get more undeserved pundit appearances than he does world title shots?
Whoa, it's close. It is close. I don't particularly like Paul Smith as a pundit. I mean, the only credit I can give him last night is that he reluctantly, he did say before the fight that he has to be honest and he picked Vargas to win. Now, if we're starting to praise commentators for being honest, you know, that we know we're in a really bad position. I don't particularly like him as a commentator, to be fair. I definitely don't like him as a fighter or as a person, to be honest. But I would just say on Coldwell as well. People have had a go at him for being a little bit prickly with that question. I think he answers it in the right way. Does it matter at all what happens? Last night. Does that have an impact on Tony Bellew? No. Does David Price have an impact on Tony Bellew? No. And he also made a good point. Does Carl Frampton losing Does that have an impact on David Hay? Absolutely not. So I think he's answered that in the right way. You've got to give him credit for how he's dealt with Bellew. Bellew has overachieved, frankly, even to this stage. Gavin McDonald's been brought, as I mentioned earlier, from pretty much nowhere, no amateur fights. David Price is a mess of a project for anyone who takes that on. So, you can't really read it. Well, it is. It's a mess.
I know it is,
Who would want to take that?
I know, but just to add a wee bit, sorry mate, just to say, my wife actually stuck up for him last night because she says that the interviewer was absolutely fucking dross. I just switched off after that, but he was raging like.
Yeah, I think fair enough, Dave Coldwell, to be honest.
Ben, you were at the show, ringside, lapping it all up. Any snippets, any nuggets? Did you get a word with Eddie or anything at the press conference that was said? What was the general experience like from being ringside?
It was cold. Sat on an ice rink all night. But, yeah, I mean, in terms of the McDonald fight, yeah, he was just outclassed. And he even admitted that afterwards. He said, he would have hated it more had he somehow been given the nod in that fight. He would have hated it more than actually losing it. But Eddie really didn't say much at the post-fight press conference about well, there was only the Campbell and McDonald fights that he talked about, but he especially the McDonald fight, he didn't say much other than McDonald, did well, gave a good showing of himself. McDonald said, he's never had any amateur fights, and he's only had 18, 19 fights now. So he's still learning and he's still building, and he's going to come back bigger and better. Eddie did say stuff about other fights, namely Hearn and Brook, and about Pacquiao as well, saying the fight will never happen. There's no money in Dubai, and that Bob Arum's told him personally that the fight won't happen, and that sort of Amir's dreaming, which obviously all changed a few hours later after we got home. When I got home from the fight, it's, as soon as Wilder knocked out Washington, Pacquiao put that tweet out. So I think Eddie's had a pretty good Sunday, to be honest with you.
No,
yeah, baby.
We'll pray for Eddie. Ben, just a couple of notes on the undercard. There were a few upsets there, wasn't there? I think William Warburton, who's a journeyman, who's a lot better than his record suggests, knocked out Connor Seymour, and Jordan Ellison, who's a bit of a journeyman as well, knocked out Jacob Woolley. So any word on those fights?
Yeah, I mean, two of the first three fights had Hull fighters in them, and they both lost. I think the first one was the Seymour one. He just came out in the second. He was all right in the first round, and you thought, he was going to walk away with it, but he just came out in the second round, and Warburton just caught him. I think it was just a big right hand. He just caught him, and he was down. And he got up, but it didn't last more than 30 seconds after that. He was just waved off. I think everyone was pretty shocked at that. I think Warburton's had like 130 odd fights. But yeah, it was a shock. And the other one, there's another one on the undercard, which was
Woolley and Ellison.
Yeah, there was Woolley and Ellison. That was the first fight.
Chadwick against Carney.
Chadwick against Carney, yeah, because in the first round, all the media were like kind of sniggering at Carney because he was doing these big looping shots, and it looked like something out of one of the old sort of boxing games, the sort of animated ones with it was funny, and he did it quite a few times, but he walked away with it, even though he was doing those funny looping shots. He did walk away with that fight, and I think some of the home crowd were a bit surprised with that one as well.
Excellent stuff, Ben. We'll come back to you to talk about Campbell and Coyle in a minute. Before we do so, I just want to get in the official voice of American boxing, Dave the Hater Lowback, watching from across the pond. Dave, I'm sure you don't even know where Hull is, let alone care. Gavin McDonald put up a pretty decent show, but I think that Vargas just showed his skill, didn't he? The only thing that was lacking, I suppose, was Dave. I thought Vargas would maybe stop McDonald in the 6th round, but to be fair to Gavin, he took his lumps, and maybe Vargas isn't as big a puncher as we thought, or maybe McDonald just has an old hard head. What did you think of the Mexican's performance, Hater?
I must be becoming a hardcore casual because I didn't even know this card was happening, and I didn't see it. I only saw the PBC card last night, so I don't even know who Ray Vargas or Gavin McDonald are.
Dave, you know that Brian's going to call you a bold spastic for these comments, don't you?
Yeah, he's proper raging. He's always raging about something. So I'm happy to give his blood pressure reason to rise.
There you go, Brian. The hater Lowback, who doesn't have to see a fight to comment on it, but Dave has not given us his analysis of a fight he didn't see. Andy, if you want to just have a quick word on McDonald or Campbell or whatever you want before we move on.
Well, as I say, I don't know if my comments got out in the first podcast.
Don't know.
So I'll just kind of try and repeat myself. Just the fact is, McDonald outclassed Vargas. I did say to you guys, actually, I thought maybe Vargas would go to stoppage. I kind of was a bit of money going down on like the 6th round, just before the 6th round or whatever. But as I say, McDonald, he done well to hang in, I suppose. He gave it a go towards the end, but 2 rounds tops at best. I don't know if my comments about Ian John Lewis got out there. I'll repeat them as well. It's time to sack it. He needs chased out the sport. He's an embarrassment to the sport. Absolute fucking embarrassment. How you can find that a draw, I do not know. So I'll be expecting condemnation for Eddie Hearn on that shortly about that one. Vargas, I want to see him again. He's very, very good fighter, very aggressive. I don't know how he makes the weight though. He's fucking massive. I knew he had a long reach, but height-wise as well, he was pretty huge. What else on that card? I see that Raheem Noble. Absolute shit.
His chin was in there a bit, was it no?
Yeah, let me say, Andy, let me ask you something about Noble, right? Whenever he got his hands up, I thought you were supposed to get your hands up to your chin. He was holding his hands up below his chin. What was all that about?
I've no idea, mate. It's no boxing anyway. It's no like defending yourself at all times. I don't know. I mean, what was it, 11-1 or something?
See, within 30 seconds that a fight started, my timeline just exploded. His chin's too high. He's getting knocked out. His chin's too high. Blah blah blah.
As I said,
man.
See, as I said that on Twitter last night. See, when you've got a hangover, right, and you really want a shag in the morning, you've just got a hard on it. It's just like the pure hornet, right? Well, that's how stiff this guy was, by the way, right? I'm telling you, he just got fucking lobbed in fucking right hands and stuff. Okay, he's done something right. He smashed fucking Coyle's eye socket. He ended up in the hospital last night. But no, he was absolute fucking murder. Maybe it was the occasion, I don't know. Maybe it was a big show, but it was a brutal outing anyway. Put it that way.
He came on pretty.
Can I just make a quick comment on Ian John Lewis?
Go ahead.
I just want to say the only official that's worse than Ian John Lewis, the judge, is Ian John Lewis, the referee. They need to get him out.
Yep.
I think.
Does anyone not feel a bit sorry for him though, Smido? I mean, he's a nice guy. I feel bad for him, Smid.
No, he's incompetent.
No.
That's right. See what people are saying he's corrupt. I don't think he's corrupt. Honestly, I don't. I think the guy's just incompetent. I think he's incompetent as a referee, and I think he's incompetent as a judge. Sorry, this is a nice guy in that, but it is what it is.
We need to
reevaluate his position.
We need to actually look at his scorecards again. Okay, what was the prize fighter when the guy got knocked down and he had the other guy winning the fight or whatever?
Yeah.
They don't have. It was a Kevin Mitchell fight he had quite close. Was it Linares? You know, having beaten Linares at one point. Yep. I need to try and dig out his scorecards, but on it, he's refereeing me. There's Big Enzo there. I was talking to him last night on Twitter and that. Look at him against Oval McKenzie. I mean, that is a guy who was clearly influenced because you can go back in time. Just talk about it. Enzo, people were fearing for Big Enzo. Yeah. And then I think, obviously, Ian John Lewis has obviously heard that, so he's allowed himself to be influenced by public perception. He's no fucking... Yep. That is no professional. You've got to go about there, do your job the right way. No. Call it as you see it. Don't fucking try and fit the narrative because you've got a home fighter.
He got that much shit for letting Shannon Briggs go the distance with Vitali that I think it's definitely affected him. And I think that's how he stopped the Enzo McCranelli fight quickly.
I think as I mentioned earlier, I just think there's no consequence for incompetent actions by officials. They're still going to get gigs with all the top fights. We've only got a pool of about it's under 10. It's under 10.
It's an all buddies act, isn't it? They're all buddies.
Yeah, so they're going to keep getting it, and there's been a lot of chat about it on Twitter, etc. Or last night and all day today. It does have an impact on British boxing as a whole because people do not want to travel here. They do not want to come here. It's the Wild West at times. We've seen different robberies up and down. There's a lot of different examples we could go to, and they continue to happen. And I just can't. Unfortunately, I just can't see an end to it. On the undercard, Steve, Tommy Coyle. I mean, there's not many people that can go backwards in terms of their performance and levels, but go forwards in how they look on the scales. I think that means he is suspect as fuck, Tommy Coyle. I do like him. I do like Tommy Coyle. He's a nice lad, but I just think he's past his best. We didn't really learn a lot last night. Nelson was who's obviously came in at short notice, and they're going to try. They're on about a British title, but they've openly admitting that they want to give Cardle an easy touch so he can keep hold of the goddamn belt before he fights anyone decent, i.e., Coyle or Campbell. It's I think that's a shame. Although I might be getting a little bit mixed up because Coyle's now moved up at a higher weight. But anyway, they're trying to protect Cardle just so that he can keep the belt on his mantelpiece. I think that's disrespectful, to be honest, to the sport. We didn't learn anything from Campbell. I actually was quite critical of Campbell last night. I thought Campbell looked quite wide and slow. I know the opponent wasn't up to much. He did have an half-decent record, the opponent, to be fair, but he got caught cold pretty early, and that was the end of that. But Campbell needs to progress quickly for his sake, and for his whole career, he needs to progress quickly. They're bigging up this new trainer that he's working with. It does seem to be having an improvement on him mentally. I think he needs the Mendy rematch, and that's what they're trying to get. I didn't watch that Ryan Burnett. I think he's boring as fuck, to be honest, so I didn't even bother watching that. And then what else was on the undercard? Oh, Dave Allen. Oh,
yeah, outweighing his opponent, Smitho, by nearly 50 pounds.
Dave Allen, right? Dave Allen has got banter. But does that mean that he should be on, Sky propping up pay-per-views? No, it doesn't. Does it, fuck? And he's even admitting that he wasn't training and this, that, and the other. We don't need to sit. I know it wasn't live last night, and they did crowbar it in because a couple of fights finished early. But going forward with Dave Allen, if he's to have another 2 or 3 fights like that, we don't need to see them on TV. They're on about getting him out next week at the O2. We don't need to see that on TV. I don't think they're on about his British title. I don't think he's good enough to a British title. He still can't throw a right hand. But that was an embarrassing fight, to be fair.
No, what they're doing, Smitho, I think, is the old German trick. They're building up his record, so they'll get him 2, 3, 4 wins, and then they'll feed him to somebody, and his record will look more aesthetically pleasing. The Germans used to do that all the time. Right, Smitho's not happy about that. Smitho's angry, so we'll move on. Ben, finally on this card, we've mentioned Coyle. Burnett didn't look great. I mean, his opponent wasn't really up to much. Allen, Dex Spellman wouldn't have got a sniff of TV if the other fights hadn't have ended early. Luke Campbell, it's good to see him winning, but what's he really learning against an opponent of that nature? I mean, the guy was absolutely piss poor. He was throwing really wild shots from the very beginning. Is there anything you want to mention, Ben? Anything that stuck out for you?
Steve. Not real. Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, Ben. I thought you was just gone a bit quiet on us. To put in, sorry, I would make a point that Dex Spellman would beat Paul Smith.
You think so?
I'm being 100% serious. I'm being 100% serious.
Can't believe Nathan King's still going. He's been going for frigging years, him. Anyway, Ben, proceed, please.
Yeah, the Coyle Noble. I personally think that, and I think it was the opinion of quite a few of the other guys at ringside, because we were sat just near his corner. We thought that should have been stopped before it actually was. When the round ended, after he got sent all the way across the ring, he just sat there and he looked, he was completely out of it. So I think it should have been stopped before it was. When he went down, it was brutal, and it was in slow motion as well, it seemed like. So that should have been stopped a bit earlier. As for Campbell, I think his opponent just went about everything the wrong way. I think Eddie Hearn did actually mention that afterwards. He thought, he was just going to try and bully him. And he kept on sort of trying to get on the inside and stuff. I don't know. He was just went around about it the completely wrong way. So I think it was Campbell that they were saying about the Cardle thing and letting Cardle win the title outright, and then have a fight with Campbell. I think that's what Eddie Hearn said. He said Campbell wants that belt as well. But yeah, other than that, not much else to say on the last night's card.
Excellent stuff. Thanks for that, Ben. Unless anyone has anything else to add, I think we shall move on to Birmingham, Alabama, the Legacy Arena. I got a few losses on this card, a few bad predictions. We had Deontay Wilder knocking out Gerald Washington in the 5th round. I thought Washington would actually go a little bit further than that. It turns out he is a bit of a Seth Mitchell, as Andy said beforehand. Jarrett Hurd, I thought that he was in for the upset against Tony Harrison. I have to give Shep his credit. He said on Twitter that Harrison leans in, and he certainly did lean in. I think it was a whipping right hook come uppercut from Hurd that knocked him down. Harrison actually, I think, had been down as well before that. I could be getting that wrong. But anyway, the vacant IBF World Super Welterweight title goes home with Hurd. He looked pretty decent. Harrison maybe just doesn't have the mental capacity at the highest level to see these fights through. I wasn't listening to the commentary. It was as if Harrison had almost, I don't want to say quit, but he certainly didn't appear like he wanted to continue when the referee gave him the option, and there's something wrong with his gum shield. But anyway, Jarrett Hurd got the knockout win. Andy mentioned off TV someone of interest in Mongolia, and Tugsart Nyambayar knocked out John Gamino, so he could be one to watch in the future. And a really enjoyable heavyweight scrap. Give props to Dominic Breazeale. This was a really good fight, actually, against Izuagbe Ugonoh. We didn't really know what to expect from Ugonoh. He looked a bit like Herbie Hyde. He'd been knocking people out, but he looked quite small. And fair play to Breazeale. I don't know whether he's actually hurt or whether he's just such a big lump. When he throws his punches, he knocks himself off balance. But he looked like he was going to go a few times, but he bit down on his gum shield, and he fought back, and he fought bravely, and he fought strongly, and he stopped Ugonoh in the end. So fair play to Big Dom, who has been a figure of ridicule in the past for myself. I know whenever he fought Joshua, he wasn't at that level. But sometimes if you put guys in of a lower level together, like they did last night, that then make for good fights. So fair play to Lou DiBella. I'm going to give him his props. I think him and the matchmaker did a good job on this one. Let's get the hater in. This is the card that he did see, which is always a bonus. First of all, Deontay Wilder against Gerald Washington. Dave, I can't remember what you picked last week. Did it pretty much go to script?
I was not on last week, but I mean, yeah, no, it didn't go to script completely, because I would have thought that Wilder would stop him with more ease and not lose about 4 rounds in a row, which I think he did. He may have scraped 1 or 2 of the first 4, but he didn't look good. He didn't look comfortable. He did look frustrated. And a very good argument for at least 3 of those first 4 rounds with his jab, just pretty much dominating. Because Wilder's always been open to the jab. We saw it against Duhaupas, very much at will, and swelled up his eye with it. Wilder still managed to win that fight in a very dominant fashion, but he's really, it's like he's regressed, honestly, since the Bermane's to Burn fight, where he really, because before that, all we knew was he could hit hard and he was a windmiller, a wild man. I never thought he would be able to beat Bermane's to Burn or the likes of Bermane's to Burn. Since then, kind of impressed me doing that punch and flow in that fight. He looked very stiff last night, set up big shots, and he finally did when he worked. But you know, the whole finish was awful. I mean, that fight and the ref for the preceding fight didn't seem to know what they were doing. They were screwing around. The fat IBF ref for the weight fight, you could barely get the instructions out. Sounded like an idiot. And then the guy Wilder fight looked like he didn't know whether he should stop the fight or not. He tried it too early. Then he just him, and then he's like, "Okay, I'll stop it now," and successfully wave it off. But when he did stop it, Wilder, you can see, flails wildly with 2 haymakers, which missed by a mile. I mean, it looked just like when he oddly with those windmilling shots. It was not good.
Dave, I don't. Is anyone else hearing Dave? Sounds like a bit choppy or something.
Sounds a bit choppy, Dave. I think your reception's a wee bit poor, mate. Maybe we need to try and get a higher Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether that was just me hearing it, but I don't know if you want to come off the call and come back on again, Dave. We'll definitely get you back on for the Hurd Harrison and the Dominic Breazeale fight. But yeah, you were starting to get a bit choppy there. Andy, before we go to the Guru and bring him on this one, Wilder, to be fair to him, has been out for a while with injured knuckles and what have you. We said last week, didn't we? If he's going to be hitting people, he might as well be hitting the best. And he has had a pretty poor run of opponents. Now, I know that we can't hold the Povetkin thing against him because of the drugs and everything, but he needs to be fighting the fellow belt holders, I think, before his ceiling is, of years left. What word am I going to use? Before it expires.
Yeah, I mean, he's 31 now, mate. As I says, I was trying to kind of keep count as to how many right hands he actually threw last night. I didn't really manage it, but he was kind of throwing it sparingly, kind of looked the jab and that. He's okay. He's been out for the best part of half a year, so he kind of started as maybe a wee bit of rust, but his technique still hasn't improved. I mean, there's Canelo. Okay, he's might have had hand surgery, but he's in the gym working on his left hook, working on his jab. Is Wilder been doing that? I didn't see much of it last night. He looked like he was kind of leading my left hook sometimes. He was jabbing the right hand. He kind of started throwing it when he got the guy in the hook, but it wasn't impressive. As Dave says, Washington was having a bit of success with the jab and that, and I didn't really expect much for him, in all honesty. Wilder, as you say, needs to start stepping it up. He needs to get the winner of Klitschko, Joshua, next. Hopefully there's no problems with the hand, but I noticed, or I'd read some comments from Breazeale, I think it was maybe on Instagram or on Twitter, and that apparently that Wilder and his team of goons or whatever it was, actually just set upon Breazeale, and his family was there, his kids were there apparently, and there was a bit of abuse, maybe a bit of verbal, bit of physicality going on as well. So that's not good, especially if the kids are there. So if that's true, then Wilder's team are basically a bunch of cunts.
Straight to the point from Andy there. Guru, are you back with us? Tommy.
Indeed. What's happening?
Excellent. We're talking Deontay Wilder. Tommy, he's a big guy just like you. He doesn't seem to have the fundamentals. He's got your punch power, though. He showed that against Washington. When he got rid of him in the end. What did you think of the performance?
I've actually not seen the full fight, mate. I've just seen the highlights. It looked like Washington, for what I've seen, was actually doing not too bad. But I kind of thought when it was stopped that it was a bad stoppage. Then somebody posted a clip on Twitter and I saw it again. Then Washington went away and he had a really bad stumble. So I've not really got any problem with it. But look, I said for day one with Wilder, he's a massive puncher. He's technically flawed. I don't think I think there's 5 or 6. Put it this way, I think there's 5 or 6 heavyweights out there that could probably beat him comfortably. It's a pity Povetkin he blew it, didn't he? I think Povetkin would have beat him handily. I think he needs a big fight, a dominant Breazeale. He needs a Klitschko, Joshua, Tyson Fury, David Tay, somebody like that. I think his career's stagnating. He's over there in America, and nobody in the world's really bothered about him, are they? He needs a massive fight.
Smido, did you see any of this? Highlights, full fights, whatever you want to comment on? How did Deontay look to you? He had a nice haircut anyway.
Yeah, he had a lovely haircut. He went for a bit inspired by Thurman himself. I watched it live. He's not very good, is he, really? Wilder, he is wild by name and wild by nature. I think he's got pretty much most of his progress or his boxing career has been defined by his size and athleticism, and obviously with that he's created a bit of power, or quite a lot of power on some highlight reels. The jab was virtually non-existent from him last night. Fat Dan had him winning 4-0 in rounds, Wilder, which was ridiculous. I think David the Hater alluded to it earlier. You could easily have given Washington 2 or 3 of the opening 4 rounds. The stoppage was messy. Bitty and John Lewis really tried to jump in. Wilder, the action moved a little bit, maybe half a foot away from the ref, and carried on for a little bit, and then he ended up waving it off. It does. Someone else mentioned, about it looks like he's regressing. That's probably correct. He's had time out of the ring on maybe 2 or 3 occasions. He's not really stepping up his competition. He would get beat by 2 or 3 or possibly more of the British heavyweights, never mind the Europeans. I think his size would have worked well against Povetkin, to be fair. I suppose we'll never know if Povetkin continues to take drugs. I think Breazeale actually, on last night's evidence, would be in a competitive fight with Wilder. What we're seeing with Wilder is he's taking, maybe not last night, but his 4 previous opponents, they all went a lot further than really what they should be. And when I say what they should be, really we're comparing them to Anthony Joshua. I'm surprised he's not been mentioned in his conversation yet. He got rid of Molina pretty quickly. It took Wilder 8 or 9 rounds, and he got wobbled during that. Duhaupas, that went quite a few rounds as well. Spilker, I think Spilker outboxed Wilder for periods during that fight, and he's obviously a lot smaller than Wilder. So, he's not really impressing. To be fair, they're keeping a title belt hostage. He needs to fight one of the big boys. I thought that Fury was going to be on the list. Obviously, Fury's got his own issues. But having said all that, I still maintain that if Wilder was to fight Fury, I would give Wilder the edge in that personally. It probably goes against everything I've just said, but I think the power. Fury's chinny, I think, and it's still potentially that Wilder's chinny himself. So that'll be a cracking fight, to be honest. But
do you think that Wilder knocks him out with a jab?
Knocks what? Knocks out.
Do you think Wilder knocks him out with a jab with Fury?
Yeah. Well, I think Klitschko's the man to knock him out with a jab. But no, I do think that Wilder Fury to me is the most intriguing, probably the top of my list in terms of heavyweight fights. And either man could quite easily win by knockout in that fight. They're both reasonably unpredictable and not the most orthodox. Neither of them are that very orthodox, and so that I think that would be a great fight. And we just need to see Wilder fighting someone good. Unfortunately, Breazeale isn't one of them.
Yeah, we need to see him step up. I think Ben, as I alluded to at the beginning of the conversation, he's certainly a character, Wilder. He enjoyed his victory anyway after all the time off, as well he might. Those shots that he was throwing at the end, I mean, windmill punches doesn't really cut it, does it? Never mind broken knuckles. He's going to put his shoulder out if he's not careful. He's going to get an injury like me to his shoulder, because the way he was winging away those shots at the end, they were literally coming from his back right round the top. I mean, he is pretty raw and unorthodox, isn't he?
And the worst thing is they both missed the Gerald Washington's entire body by a mile.
Yeah, Ben, he wasn't very accurate, Wilder. I don't know what you made of the performance.
You're on mute, Ben.
Don't know if Ben's with us or not at the moment.
I think Ben's popped off for a moment.
Oh, was he? Right, okay. Right, it's going smooth tonight, boys. I'm quite pleased with the way this show's turning out.
Challenge tonight, mate.
Andy, these are the nights when you're like, thank fuck for I don't do this anymore.
You're bang on the money, mate.
Right, let's move to the undercard then. Let's get Hay to Dave Lowe back in. Hopefully he sounds okay, because the people want to hear what he has to say. Jarrett Hurd against Tony Harrison, Dave. You can talk a bit of Dominic Breazeale, Izuagbe Ugonoh if you want to. Decent couple of fights on the undercard.
Yeah, your brief analysis of the Hurd Harrison fight, I don't know how close you were watching, but it was not easy for Hurd at all.
Yeah, the early doors Harrison first 3 rounds I thought was pretty good.
I think for the first 6 even, I think he probably dominated the first half of the fight really, and he started to gas.
But he was throwing the jab early, and then he stopped throwing the jab. I thought it was maybe I was a bit. I wanted him to win the fight, Dave, so maybe I was a bit biased or something. But you actually think Tony was doing pretty well?
Yeah, he was doing well. I think he was bossing the fight until he gassed, and to be fair to Hurd, I think it was his pressure that helped cause that. He watched the Willie Nelson fight, and he saw what happened. He saw how to wear the guy down to get a stoppage, and it was actually in the very same round, the 9th round. So that's 2 KO9s in a very similar fashion with the right hand. It's something he's to work on, or he's. I mean, his heart is in question too, because that stoppage, we didn't really hear it, but it very much looked like that the ref waved it off because of what he saw in his face, much more than how hurt he was. And I don't think he wanted any more. So maybe he doesn't want. Maybe he wants to be done with boxing.
Hopefully, you don't want to be done with boxing. Dave, tell us about Breazeale briefly before you disappear.
That was the best fight of the card, and props to the matchmakers on that one. I guess they're kind of just throwing Breazeale to the wolves. I guess they kind of have for his last several fights now. After that gift, he got, who was it against? Was it Cassie? Yeah, after that fight, they're like, all right, let's just see. It's sink or swim time. So they threw him in with Mansoor. Somehow he managed to survive that. Like punched Mansoor's teeth through his tongue and made him quit, I guess, even though he got his ass dropped and hurt badly in that fight. Then they're just like, all right, well, let's throw him over to Joshua. They threw him over there, got battered. In that fight, he looked like he'd just been he trained by eating, I don't know, bacon and grits. Last night, though, he did look in slightly better shape, I would say. But again, they've thrown him in with an undefeated guy, sort of a question mark. He was smaller, but he was in good shape, it looked like. Too much muscle, though, I think, because he did appear to gas. And as the commentators were saying, it was more so his energy than his actual concussion that brought the fight to a close. It was a good one, though, and wouldn't mind seeing a rematch either. This is the kind of matchmaking that I hope to see more of on PBC cards. It's not super high level, obviously. It's not super relevant, but I think it'll draw fans into the sport.
I think it's really good matchmaking. Smido, it's really good matchmaking, I think. Hurd against Harrison. That's a lovely little fight.
Third round, possibly round of the year so far.
Yeah, that third round in the Breazeale fight was an absolute riot. Breazeale put him down, but Breazeale was definitely under pressure and probably lost the first 2 rounds. And as Dave said, the energy levels of the opponent, whose name eludes me, was good early doors. And then Breazeale knocked him. He went over, and then there's an argument really that that he came back to win that round. So when Breazeale at the end of the third round, having scored a knockdown, was close to being in trouble himself. He showed that he threw quite a few more punches than against AJ. He didn't look great on the scales, and Dave's saying that's an improvement, which surprises me. But he didn't look great himself, and I think he showed a decent heart, and he showed some decent power actually to finish the fight as well. I think against Wilder, because he's going to challenge Wilder for size, not athleticism, but he will challenge him for size. If he can land some punches as he did last night, he's going to have Wilder in a bit of bother. As for the Harrison fight, pretty much agree with what the lad says. He started well, and then he seemed to gas out a little bit. I wasn't that impressed really with Hurd, to be fair. But he goes on, and he even looks similar to me to the Charlo brothers. So we've got three people that are virtually the same, owning belts at them weights. My question is, how did the IBF super welterweight title was it vacant last night? How did it?
Yeah. Charlo vacated.
Charlo doesn't actually hold a belt there anymore. That's why.
Oh,
vacated.
He's moving up to middleweight.
Yeah, hopefully he'll fight Golovkin. I'd be happy.
And that's Jamal. That's the good one.
He's moving up to middleweight because he can't be bothered using diuretics anymore to make weight. I mean, that guy, he is roiding out his nipples by the way, that one.
Here, Andy, talking about roiding, actually, while we're on the subject of that, I couldn't see because I was watching a stream last night, but a few of our brothers watching HD versions kept on commenting about Ray Vargas' back. Yeah. What was going on that I wasn't seeing?
I commented on it as well, mate. I would say he's definitely got that Marquez complexion about him, kind of like pre-Pacquiao 4, kind of pimples in the back and stuff. So.
Right. Okay, we should say no more about that. Ben is back with us, thankfully. Ben, we were talking a bit of Breazeale against, everyone's forgetting his opponent's name. Who is it? Oh, Ugonoh. Whatever you call that fella. But whenever we were trying to come back to you for Wilder against Gerald Washington, how do you think comparatively the heavyweights fared last night, Ben? Were you impressed with what you saw with any of them? Who came out of the night best?
To answer the I didn't see the Breazeale fight. I don't even think I'd got back from Hull by then. But I saw Wilder. I watched it. And it was horrendous, really. I couldn't even be bothered paying attention to it, to be honest with you. I was that knackered at that point, and I was just so unimpressed with Wilder. That, it was a really poor performance. Other than that, I haven't got much to say about it. He's a disgrace, like that.
No, that's okay. Didn't see Hurd Harrison by any chance, did you know?
And, besides what I watched in Hull and the Wilder thing, that's all I caught last night.
No problem. Don't worry about that. That's fine. We understand. We've all driven back from those late night shows, etc. We'll not hold that against you. Guru, don't think we've heard from you about Breazeale or the Hurd Harrison fight. If you want to drop any comments in.
No, I hadn't seen them, mate. I'd only seen the highlights. The Deontay Wilder fight, mate. So I'll need to catch up with that.
No problem. We shall move on. Talking about fights that we've seen but can't remember a thing from. Just before we're about to come on, Andy, I was asking you about Dimitri Bivol against Robert Berridge. You've been under the weather. You've actually seen the fight, but you were like, fuck, I can't really remember too much about it. But we know that Bivol won by 4th round knockout anyway, so he's moving in the right direction regardless of what
he seemed to dominate him. As I said last week, I don't think Berridge should have been in that type of fight. It's for an interim WBA trinket. Pretty much emphatic, dominant. Jabbed the body, fucked him up, move on. It was as I say, I never really rated Berridge. I know he was undefeated until he went over to America and that, and then his career just seems to have kind of like went into a kind of journeyman kind of state. So it was a kind of poor fight to make, but you expect Bivol, as he did, to be dominant, and that's what he done.
Excellent stuff. What about Braekhus? How did she look? Was that the Thursday or the Friday night?
The weigh-in was Thursday. The fight was Friday night. So I didn't watch the fight until last night there. But she dominated pretty much. The thing was, there was a bit of dispute going on because she never turned up at the official weigh-in. She said after the fight directly on TV that she had to use a sauna to make the weight. She's been fighting illness all summer, apparently flu and all that type of thing, and she had to go and weigh in private because she had to strip down naked to go and make the weight. Apparently she did make it, but she looked like shit when she came to meet the cameras and that. Said she gassed after 4 rounds, apparently. That's her words, actually, not mine. So she was kind of like single shots. Svensson just couldn't really get into distance, really. I mean, she did. She was just getting picked off, But she says she looked like shit. She had nothing, like she was gassed, You could see the way she put the weight back on over the 24 hours and that, she just did not look good at all. 35 as well, but if she's been struggling with illness and stuff, trying to make weight at the same time using saunas, she was hogging down that water post-fight as well, So
what's her weight class?
Welterweight.
Yeah. So there's really very little chance of that of her going to 145 in the UFC.
I don't see her going to UFC, mate. There's really much point. She's pay-per-view here in Norway, so she would make a fortune.
It's not worth it.
Sounds like she was on her period. Bloated, no feeling great, and that's what the hallmarks.
Yeah, thanks for that, Tommy. Right, let's go on to Friday night. Last week, I thought really fancied Alvarez to knock out Bute. To be honest, I think it was our friend Tom Craze who was on the call. He talked me out of that prediction. He says, Bute is tough, but I was thinking to myself, Bute has been around a while now. He hasn't looked brilliant. He's off the drugs, so he's a bit smaller. I'm just wondering whether Alvarez might be able to knock him out, even though he's not the biggest of punchers. But he did. Beautiful finish. Lovely right hand, which stunned Bute. And just as he was trying to get his senses back, Alvarez hit him with another one and just knocked him out. And a favourite referee of mine, Mr. Marlon Wright, quite why he's still getting fights to referee, especially in Canada, is beyond me. He shouldn't be let near anything.
Best to be Bute as well.
Bute against Librado and Andrade that time when Marlon Wright bought the stinker. That was a corrupt move, wasn't it, that night?
Did he try to save Bute? Did he try to save Bute the fight on Friday as well?
Well, no, I don't know whether he did, to be honest with you, Dave. He wasn't quite as explicit as the night against Andrade. Whenever he was, what was he doing? He was shouting at him in the corner, wasn't he, for coming out the corner or something like that. But Marlon Wright's back with a bang anyway. I don't know who saw this one. Tommy, did you see any of the Alvarez fight? Decent fighter.
I've saw it for like the second round. Alvarez is decent. I don't think he's going to ever trouble the very, very top guys in the division, because that is obviously a great division. But I quite fancied him. He beat Bute on Friday, even though Bute's been looking kind of good. I thought Bute looked absolute crap on Friday, and it was a great finish, wasn't it? He stung him with that first right hand and he just laid him out. I was quite impressed with him. Yep. I think Bute really needs to hang him up now, but he must be 35, 36 now.
He needs to be hanging him up, but see, you think Alvarez was being slightly defensive? You know, he was always kind of fighting off the back foot, but he can't deny the finish. It was a great shot. Bute never really kind of got anything off, really. And to be honest, he didn't look as cut and defined as he did for his last fight against De Gale.
He's definitely off the gear now, isn't he? He looked like he was off the gear there. That's what I've got to say that myself.
Yep, seems that way. Anybody else want to jump in on this fight? I believe it was a WBC light heavyweight title eliminator, so Alvarez should be finding his way towards Adonis Stevenson. The fight was in Canada as well, so they'll be well used to him. Anybody see Alvarez giving Stevenson any problems or any comments on Friday night?
If he can get the right hand off, I think everybody believes, or I think so anyway, that Stevenson's chinny, but I still think Stevenson's got enough about him to beat this guy. I just think he would be too defensive, especially against a guy who can also punch. And southpaw like Stevenson, he gets that life hand down the middle, and that ankle could be lights out for him. But I would just get a slight favour to Stevenson now, but could change before fight night.
Yeah. Stevenson, he's coming up 40 as well. You never know with him. He could just drop off a cliff any time, couldn't he?
He should be fighting, Tommy. I mean, when's he due to be fighting next? I'm not even sure.
He's back out in April, the end of April.
He's becoming irrelevant, anti my mate Stevenson. I mean, I think Alvarez is too good for Stevenson. So, i.e., not too good that he'll beat him, too good to be an opponent. So, I think they'll try and avoid that one as well for as long as possible. Also on Friday, Steve, I didn't see it, but I saw the aftermath. Boy Jones Jr. got beat at the York Court.
That was some fight, by the way.
That was
a great fight.
Tell us about this, Smido. That was a really, really good fight. It was a good card all round. You know, shit fights in leisure centre, said Eddie. But Boy Jones went fit in that Poxton kid. Fair play to him. He had a horrendous cut, and he stopped Boy Jones. And it was a lovely fight, Smido.
Yeah, but it was a lovely fight. And to be fair, it was a pretty lovely. We don't like. Lovely makes it sound a bit too positive for this forum, but it was a lovely aftermath as well. They were quite, respectful and honest. And that after, like I say, I've not seen the whole fight. I've seen highlights of it. It looked good, and I have as a subscriber to Box Nation, I've got it on record, and I will be watching it.
You can watch that, Smido, in between reruns of Robin Reed versus Hashim Sharifi. I know you love a bit of that one.
No, the one the most recent one I was watching was I'm going to get the names wrong. The middleweight West Ham against Coventry. Was it Kayla against Christie?
Yes, Errol Christie, Mark Kayla, yeah.
1985. So that's the one I'm watching at the moment.
How old were you in 85, Smido?
I was minus 4.
Really?
Still swimming his daddy's bollocks.
Bloody hell.
Look, I had a tough paper round. I'm younger than most of you lot. I had a tough paper round, and my face has been through some hard times on the hard streets of Nottingham.
Friggin' have enough. I was 3 then. How old were you in 85, Andy?
Me, I'll be 4 or 5.
About 14, Andy was.
Aye.
Andy, do you want to say anything about the Box Nation card on Friday night? I know Hater Dave's desperate to get in because he was loving a bit of Thomas Essomba.
Essomba, he's got a good backstory. Actually, I heard Steve Lillis talking about him. But this fight, Boy Jones and Poxton, it was a great fight. I mean, at one point you really did think that Jones was going to get swallowed up, and then he came firing back at the kind of midway point of that fight. The thing is, I really hope Boy Jones. Well, for what I remember seeing him, he is gradually filling out. So I think he's only still in his early 20s or whatever. But he's hopefully he doesn't take any disheartening for that defeat, because he should learn for that. A zero doesn't make you as a fighter, by the way. So how you learn it in the ring. So fair play to the kid. Hopefully he comes back fit and doesn't get too disheartened. Rematch, absolutely get it on there, definitely. I think even Nick Holland, John Rolland mentioned it doesn't always have to be the big pay-per-view fights and the fights on Sky, so to speak, and that these area title fights have got a place in their sport actually, and they should be there to stay.
Certainly. Anybody else want to comment on either Bute, Alvarez, or this show on Friday night? I shall just say Jay Harris was the guy who beat Thomas Essomba for the Commonwealth flyweight title. Craig Poxton stopped Boy Jones. Sanjeev Sahota got a win as well. I didn't actually see that one. I was still working. And Harley Benn, another one of the Benns, Nigel Benn's kids, got a win as well on the undercard.
He looked chubby at the weigh-in, by the way. Look at Harley Benn's weigh-in picture. He looked chubby.
What did he look like on the night, Andy? I heard the reviews weren't too rave.
Harley Benn, I've never seen that fight, mate. I forget where I picked it up from, but I've seen the flyweight title fight or super flyweight title fight. I've been working on the Baron's bedroom in that, so I've been kind of flipping back and forward. But the Boy Jones, I remember that one. What was the main event in that card?
Yeah, that was Essomba and Harris, I think it was. Sorry to put you on the spot. I meant to say Adam, actually. I don't know if Smido watched it or not.
Why did Nigel name him after a dog?
I don't know what the deal is there, isn't he? He's illegitimate. Like, I'm not sure how much input Nigel has. It's like Chris Eubank with his son, isn't it? There's freaking kids flying about all over the place.
Well, the way Ben used to put it about when he was in his peak, man, Jesus Christ, there should be many of them kicking out through the surface. And you know, I don't want to speak ill of the guy seeing how he's dead and that, but I'm surprised there's been nobody come forward claiming that fucking Muhammad Ali's fucking kids sort of lay claim to that estate. Because he liked to put it about. He did. He liked to fucking put his tadger about. Don't you? See if you read Ray Leonard's book and stuff, he was taken aback when he one of the first questions when he met Ali for the first time. The fucking first question Ali asked him, how do you do for pussy?
Hey, Ted, do you want to say anything?
No, I didn't see this card.
No problem. Ben, anything from Friday night from you before we move on?
No, I didn't see the card either, unfortunately.
No problem, no problem. Right, we have Mr. Controversy on the line, Amir King Khan. We're a bit pushed for time, Amir, so I'm going to rocket through these bits and pieces for you. It's good to hear from you as always. Right, first of all, you want to speak about Tony Bellew and David Hay on Behind the Ropes. I haven't seen this, Amir. What's annoying you so much?
Oh, you need to watch it, guys. There's 2 episodes on YouTube. David Hay is fucking training on a fucking yacht. He's got a punch bag there. He's got Shane McGuigan on the pads. He's got some yoga teacher there. He's just taking the fucking piss. I just can't see him taking it seriously for one bit. I really hope he gets sparked out, but I just can't see it happening. But I really want to see him lose. He's just such an arsehole. He's absolutely taking the piss. I don't even think he's training properly. He's just messing around on the yacht.
Who's annoying you more, Amir? Paul Smith, who is you're a great hater of him, or David Hay? Who's pissing you off most at the moment?
Probably David Hay is more in the spotlight, and he's just not taking it seriously at all. He's just saying like he's going to knock him out when he wants to, and he's saying he's a pit bull, and Tony Bellew is a little chihuahua, and Tony Bellew's going to run.
I mean, I think you've been drawn in, mate. You've been drawn in. If we think that David Hay is really only training on a yacht, we're being taken for fools. He wants you.
No, he's not. I mean, there's clips of him in the Fifth Street gym.
Tony Bellew to think that as well.
But there's clips of him in the Fifth Street gym, going at it. But
yeah,
I don't know. I just think he's just taking the piss. He doesn't normally do this. I mean, it's just it just doesn't make any sense.
No, I think it's all for show. And we've said this before. Along with Adam Booth, David Hay is the most calculated man in British boxing. He knows what he's doing. He's going to get paid a load of money, and it's not. This isn't the payday he's after. The payday he's after is the one for the Golden Boy. That's what they want. So he'll go.
Is he going to get that fight from the back of this?
I think
blown up cruiserweight.
Yeah. I think potentially, yeah. Obviously the cat's out of the bag now with Mr. Joshua, given that they are fighting Klitschko in terms of they will fight the big names and the threats. So yeah, the cat's out of the bag with that.
Would Eddie put Hay in with Joshua? Would he have the balls to put him in?
Well, to be fair, he's put him in with Klitschko, who beat David Hay. So if we're taking that as a signal of intent, they were basically on the back.
Klitschko was on another level when he fought Hay. I mean, that was a good 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I think Klitschko's on a slippery slope, and I don't think Hay's any better than he was.
I think Hay's going downhill, so as well. So I think Joshua would beat him, and I think they'll fancy it.
I wouldn't go as far as say Joshua will beat him, but I think he's going downhill. Yeah. I think we'll learn a lot about David Hay next weekend because we'll come on to it. He's not fight anyone with a pulse for 5 or 6 years, and I know he's fighting a blown-up cruiserweight in David Hay, in Tony Bellew, sorry. But we'll find out a bit. We'll find out a lot about David Hay and how serious he is about the game and going forward, and on the potential world title trail.
Well, in the middle of the portion of the show, Smido, we are going to be discussing Hay-Bellew very shortly. So if anyone's listening in for that, it will be coming up within the next 5 or 10 minutes or so. Amir, are you going pay-per-view or are you team stream next weekend?
I'm probably going to watch it out, to be honest. I'm not going to pay for it, but I'll probably get a proper stream of it somewhere. I don't know what you guys are going to do. Can't see.
Not in a bar, I hope.
I can't see any of you buying it. Maybe Andy might get a bit generous and buy it this time. I don't know.
Not a fucking chance.
I wouldn't have thought it.
Can you guys honestly team go past 3 rounds? I mean, what are the odds on it ending in 3 rounds?
I think it might go a bit longer than you think. I think maybe 6 to 8. I think Hay might carry him a little bit. Depends what round he's got money on.
But can you see Bellew getting up and then taking more punishment and then lasting that long? I personally can't see. I am probably Bellew's biggest fan, but you've got to be serious. It's boxing.
Yeah, we know you're a big Bellew fanboy, Amir, but I don't know whether he's going to do it or not for you. He's going to let you down, but enjoy that one anyway. Right, listen, let's move on. Scott Quigg going to Freddie Roach. You wanted to comment on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great move. I think it's come just at the right time. It just shows that Joe Gallagher isn't as good as we all think he is. Not that many of us really like his fighting style. I think Freddie Roach will bring a new dimension to Scott Quigg, and hopefully, it reminds me of a bit like when Amir Khan went to Freddie Roach back in the day. And I think Quigg, if he takes on board what he's been taught by him, I think it'll come a long way. Hopefully, he gets the Frampton rematch and does the business this time. But I'm looking forward to that.
Who hopes that, Amir?
I know it's a bit of a long shot, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought Quigg were going to beat Frampton. So
no, I think a few others did as well.
Quigg in 6.
But honestly, I think it's a good move, and yeah, I hope it works out for him, because really, Joe Gallagher, he's done what he can with him, and I think other fighters will follow suit. Anthony Collin maybe, I'm not sure, but yeah, that is something I'm looking forward to.
Just finally, Amir, before we let you go, your namesake is fighting Manny Pacquiao, I believe, in April. Oh, Amir's buggered off anyway before that question. Maybe this is the real Amir Khan? He doesn't want to answer any questions about it, but he's gone anyway. He's jumped off the call. So we shall move on. Right, who have we got? We've got Ben on the call with us. We've got Adam Smido-Smith. We've got Hater Dave Lowback, Tommy the Guru Allen, and Andy Patterson. We're doing okay for time. It's about 9:20 or so. Like I said before, we're going to be talking a bit of Tony Bellew, David Hay previews. We're going to be doing Garcia Thurman as well. And the Bellew of the week will be coming up right at the end. Before we do so, let's get a few Twitter and Facebook questions on the go here. We've been sent in quite a few during the week, so we'll try and keep things as snappy as you can. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on this one. This was from Don McNamara. He sent it into the Facebook page last week, just as the show was ending, actually. He said, can you think of a very well media-trained boxer, coach, or promoter losing the plot and doing a borderline Kevin Keegan type rant? Hater Dave might not know about that, but it's sort of, I'd love it if we beat them. Kevin Keegan had a famous rant a few years ago. And I was thinking of someone who's quite media-trained. I immediately thought Tommy of Malignaggi, but he's quite a effervescent character anyway, isn't he? So he's not really someone who would usually be calm. Is there anyone you can think of, Tommy, that's lost the plot?
The one that really comes to mind is high profile was George Foreman, obviously with Lampley in the Barrera fight. Remember when
yes,
didn't he? George fucking had a pop at him, didn't he?
I don't think you like him much yourself, Jim.
Aye. Who else? Jim Watt had a couple of meltdowns off the top of my head, and that I can't remember. And I'm just really made bad decisions in that back in the day. But
Lampley too. He cries like every other fight.
Lampley's meltdown in the Pacquiao Clotty fight was brilliant. The bang shit. Man.
That's right.
That was class, man.
I was thinking about a guy that we hadn't seen to this point very much before. Do you remember Robert Guerrero's dad, Ruben Guerrero, the trainer?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, at one of the press conferences, he went on the famous Floyd Mayweather's a wife-beating piece of shit rant, and that was just completely out the blue. And I don't talk shit, but this guy's a wife beater, and it was just like, whoa, where did he come from, sort of thing.
Yeah, aye. Remember that.
And then Dave Coldwell. Dave Coldwell had a bit of a meltdown as well, didn't he? We spoke about that earlier.
What about Brian Rose when Ian John Lewis stopped him in about 90 seconds and he kicked off, started throwing chairs in the back?
Was that the Carson Jones fight?
Yeah, Carson Jones, Brian Rose, number 1, yeah.
Barry Herman and Paul McCluskey got stopped against Cannes.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
He
on that
lost his
non-existent
shit.
Cut. That's right. He's on freaking Premier Sports or something.
Oh yeah, fucker. He lost his shit, aren't they? Like
so did Eddie lost his shit in the press conference after. Like it's one of the only times I've really seen Eddie Hearn losing his cool, and I think that's how to this day he's desperate to get Amir Khan back in the ring because what's happened with McCloskey. I think there's still someone there. He wants that win back if he can. He took that
Well, sure, he said that. He said that afterwards. He was really pissed off, and he said, "Right, if Khan's not going to give us the rematch, we'll go out and find the guys that's beaten Khan." To that point, it was only Brady's Prescott who'd beaten Khan. So who did McCluskey get in his next fight in Belfast? I was there myself. Brady's Prescott. Eddie, you're right. Tommy was absolutely livid about that, and from that point onwards, he was desperate to get revenge on Khan.
Yeah, he's made that his mission. Not doing too well, was he? I was actually listening to one of their old podcasts for like 2 years ago. Earlier on, I'm sure Smedo will remember this when he says that. I think it was after Algieri when Smedo and myself were talking. And Smedo laughed at me when I says Amir Khan will have more options than Cale Brook. Smedo, do you remember that?
No, to be honest. I would admit it, Tommy. To be honest, I call a lot of bullshit. I would admit it.
I'm pretty sure a lot of your listeners and that will remember it, Smedo.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But Tommy, we all make mistakes, Quigg in 6. But yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about Khan,
I actually changed my prediction. I changed my prediction. I bet I say Frampton by decision.
Tommy, I was with you on that night, and you said I'm going to back Frampton to win, and then I'm going to take a screenshot, and then if he does win, I'm going to tweet it after the fight.
Classic Guru.
That is something like that.
Right,
Tommy, you're talking about listening back to things I've had to say. I mean, and I speak a lot of sense, including last week.
You did some.
Including last week when I said that Scott Quigg would benefit from
carry on.
Yeah, so I said last week Scott Quigg would benefit from a switch to Freddie Roach, and then 24 hours later it's a done deal. I mean, I'm a fucking genius. I'm the real guru.
I've got to tip my hat to you there, Smedo. Definitely.
Yeah, I think Roach might be shot, honestly.
I don't think Freddie's. I've heard kind of that Freddie's not as active in that on the pads and that now. I think he's got people in that working with him. He's got to do that for him. But he's obviously he's still got his knowledge and that. He's still going to feed that on his fighters and that. I think when Eddie Futchin that got older than that as well. Eddie Futchin that he obviously he was in his hands on that. The knowledge is still there. You never lose that.
Yeah, exactly. It's the brain power and the knowledge and the experience that they're paying for. But Freddie will pretty much go in any corner at the moment. But right, let's get another question on the go from Jack Rice. Who have we got on the call? Ben, I don't know what you think about this one from Jack Rice on Twitter. He says, Quigg, as we've just noted, has moved up to featherweight, of course. He's now training with Freddie Roach. Which organisation gives him the best chance, even if only remotely, of winning a belt? Or should he still just head to H&M for one? Question for the pod. What's Quigg's best chance of winning a belt, Ben? Just looking down the Fight News rankings now. He's quite highly ranked. He's in the top 5 of the WBC. That's obviously Gary Russell Jr. He's knocking towards the top 5 of the WBA, which is obviously Leo Santa Cruz. And I think Abner Mares maybe might hold some kind of trinket or something. He's not in the IBF. And he's not knocking around in the WBO. So what do you think, Ben? Which belt can Quigg get his hands on? Ben?
I'm really not sure, to be honest with you. Out of those two options, who is it? Gary Russell Jr. and Leo Santa Cruz.
Yeah. It's not looking good, is it?
The short answer is 0 chance.
Yeah. I don't fancy him for either of those, to be honest with you. No, I don't.
Quigg's best chance to world titles, obviously another WBA regular, isn't it?
Well, he'll fight for a vacant because they'll strip Gary Russell Jr. because he'll just be completely inactive for another 2 years. So eventually they'll strip him.
What about Abner Mares? How do we see that fight going with Quigg?
It's winnable.
I think Mares might hit too much.
Yeah, it's winnable, I think, for Quigg, definitely. It's one of the more winnable options, but I'd still probably pick Mares because I think Quigg is pretty shit.
Yeah, I will. It's a fight I could maybe see going either way. I wouldn't come right out, like yourself, Steve, I wouldn't come right out and pick Quigg like I've done in the past, but I wouldn't exactly write him off in that fight either. That's a regular title. If you look at the 4 champions, Russell Jr., Santa Cruz, Selby and Oscar Valdez, the 4 of them are deadly. He's not going to beat any of them, is he?
Here, Tommy.
You have to do an IBO route.
IBO, yeah, it's with the big 5 now.
ITV pay-per-view, come on.
Yeah, Tommy, let me throw a few names at you and let me tell you if Quigg beats them or not, right? I'm going to throw some random names from the rankings here. Jojo Diaz.
No chance.
Simpiwe Vecheka.
He beats him.
Maybe.
He beats
Josh
him.
Warrington?
That's him at Fort Denier, right? Is it a tie?
Yeah, I'm not so sure whether he beats him. What about Josh Warrington?
Josh Warrington.
Yeah. What do you think, Andy?
It's winnable. I don't rate Warrington all that much. He's not got power either. Plus, I think Quigg's quite a big guy, so I think he might be bigger. I'm not too sure about Warrington size-wise, but I think he maybe beat Warrington.
Okay, couple more. Jorge Lara, Tommy. He's the guy who beat Montiel.
I just fought no long ago. I think Lara, Quigg beats him.
Quigg beats Lara. And finally, Kid Galahad.
Just the one that's on the bread and water,
Yeah.
Definitely beats Galahad. It's a deep division. That's a really, really good division. I'd say with the 4 champions, possibly Mares, Diaz. The guys can all. I think a lot of them would beat Quigg, but there's winnable fights here for him as well.
Right, go on.
I want to see him. I want to see this guy. I want to see him in a big fight again. I've not completely written him off. Honestly, hand on heart, I believe Joe Gallagher's tactics played a big part in him losing the fight. I'm not saying he would have beat Carroll. Carroll would have still won that fight, but Joe Gallagher's done him no favours that night. With his usual start slow game plan, and he'd have beat the Cuban as well.
I think it is going to benefit Quigg because he's going to go out there, but we're going to forget about him a little bit. He might get on some American undercards against some tough Mexicans, and that's not using the matchroom cliche. I mean, some genuinely tough Mexicans, and I think it might bring him on. And then when some of the boys have sorted out their belts or vacated or moved up, then there will be an opportunity for Quigg. But I don't think there's any real rush for Quigg, really. I think the new training set up, especially abroad and fighting abroad, I think will do him good in general.
Smido has spoken. We had a question from Michael Gearty on the Facebook page, but I've accidentally just deleted it, so I'm going to sort of paraphrase it. Apologies, Michael, if I'm getting this wrong. I don't know if anybody wants to jump in on this. Maybe Smido will fancy this one. He says, out of all the UK pay-per-view fights that have been made recently in recent years, out of all the UK pay-per-view fights involving UK fighters, does Brook versus Spence sneak into the top 10? So if we're thinking of all the most recent pay-per-view fights, Smido, basically Brook Spence, is it a top 10 sort of fight for you? Is it decent? Is it definitely going to be pay-per-view?
Yeah, I think they are going to make it pay-per-view, but I think they don't necessarily need to. I mean, they're on this 75-25. What we hear about that from Edward all the time. Does it necessarily need to be pay-per-view? No. Am I interested in? I had this conversation with my mate the other day at work. Am I interested in a Jamie McDonald or a Cal Yafai being on the undercard of Brook Spence? No, not really. I just want to see Brook Spence on proper Sky. I mean, to me, it's not. It is higher profile, but not massively higher profile than the likes of Coyle and Allen, and we ain't got to pay extra for that. So forget about making it pay-per-view and padding out the undercard with regular title shots. Just make the goddamn fight and make it on normal pay-per-view. Because if we consider that we're going to have next week, we're going to have Joshua, we're going to potentially have Khan and Pacquiao, and we're going to have Brook and Spence all before June, I think you're taking the piss a little bit. Well, more than a little bit. Obviously, none of us will be paying for it. But, we need to stop giving credit to Eddie and Kel for making this fight. It is a mandatory challenger who actually, for a change, turns out to be a bloody good mandatory challenger. Fantastic, make the fight brilliant, but don't come on and trying to get praise just for making a mandatory challenger who is actually good for a change.
I agree with that, Tommy. What do you?
Sorry, carry on, Nick. Carry on.
No, Tommy, I was just going to say, what do you think about what Smido is saying? Because I was having to think about this whole thing, and people are saying, "Oh, Brook should be praised for taking the fight," and blah blah blah. I don't really know where I stand about this. In a sport where fighters are prone at the moment to duck each other, then I will say fair play to Brook. But at the same time, if he didn't take the fight, then why not? Is he just going to duck Spence, and then he'd say, "Oh, the money's not right" or something? He should be taking these type of fights, shouldn't he?
Correct. He should be. I think the Breazeale has went a bit overboard when you look at the two mandatories he's took in the past. why shouldn't he have fought Spence? That's obviously his mandatory challenger. But as you see on the flip side of it, there's a lot of people wouldn't have took the fight, so you actually have to go to give him credit. And I'm not a big Quigg fan, but he did step up and fight Triple G as well, so I've given Canna a lot of credit for going up and fighting Canelo. You've got to do the same way with Kell Brook as well. It could blow right up. I think Brook, if Brook's weight properly, I think he'll win the fight, but this could really blow up in his face, and he'll be kicking his shell. It never took the 30% to fight Amir Khan.
I think the key to this fight is, as Tommy's just said, it's about whether Brook can make weight and whether he can make weight properly. It's with the bookmakers, it is pretty much a 50-50 fight, and possibly deservingly so. But the biggest questions about this fight is not whether Kell Brook can win, it's whether Kell Brook can make the weight properly.
And I'm struggling to make the weight. I'm making a conscious decision to come in about 150, so I'm healthy. Fuck the title.
Tommy's going to dry himself out. Fuck the title, he says. Can't disagree with you there, Thomas. Right. Hey to Dave. Let's get you involved in this one. Question from Tommy Roosh on Twitter. He says, name some fighters who have had that I can beat anyone and will prove it mentality. It's a rare quality. I can beat anyone and will prove it. Now, I'm going to throw a couple of names in. I don't know what you think about this. Evander Holyfield was the first name that came to me. I think Oscar had this type of mentality as well. The way he fought everybody and he wanted to just prove he was the best. And I'm going to say, this might be a bit of a weird one. You might laugh at me, but I think Amir Khan has a little bit of a thought about him. You know, he looks past his deficiencies and says, I can beat anyone and I will prove it. He has that mentality.
Yep.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Roberto Duran.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're going back to the old school, right enough. Everybody fought everybody pretty much back then, didn't they?
Yeah.
Fighters Arturo Gatti pretty much fought everybody as well, didn't they?
Edwin Valero, including his wife.
You always have to mention that, Dave.
I hate the bastard. I don't really care if his suicide was like them killing him, because if it was, he deserved it one way or the other.
I've got one for you, Eric Morales.
No, definitely. Yeah, I'm trying to think of more modern names, because I mean, we've established like the guys in the old days would do it. No questions asked.
Lennox Lewis.
Morales showed that, Dave, in that first Pacquiao fight, I thought, which was one of his greatest moments as a fighter, because hadn't he been beaten by Zahir Rahim a couple of fights previous?
That's right.
He was on the way out, wasn't he? And he put in that big performance, that last big performance against Pacquiao in the first fight.
Yeah.
But he had.
I thought he was totally done, and Pacquiao was coming off. I'm sure Pacquiao was coming off Barrera at the time, or he'd just recently beat Barrera. I think for Morales. Morales, a big fan of Morales, and he had one last fight in him.
That's right, because Rahim had absolutely boxed his ears off, hadn't he? No one had seen that coming.
He had, yeah. I think there was something up with Morales. I'm not making excuses for him, man. He just didn't look himself that night. I don't know if it was motivation or anything like that. Obviously, the fighter's motivation. If you look at Derek Chisora, maybe over the last 2 years, and that he's not looked interested in the ring, and then he really got up for that fight with Dillian White, didn't he? And he looked as good as ever. He's looked as good as I've ever seen him. I think there was a touch of that with Morales that night when he moved up to lightweight. He just didn't look himself motivation or that. Was one of them. But anyway,
Bernard Hopkins.
Any final comments, Dave?
Bernard Hopkins. He's my my number one pick for the old school fighter of today.
Yep, you love a bit of Hopkins.
Actually, James Toney too. Started at middleweight, goes on fights everywhere.
Man, James Toney was fucking. He would have fought anybody, like, definitely.
Yeah. He still will.
That's what we want to say.
He's going. Like,
he wants to fight Tyson.
Yeah.
Does he? God.
He fought Randy Couture in the octagon.
In the UFC,
He'll do anything. Crazy man.
Right, thanks, Dave. Andy, let's get you in on this next one. It's a question from Brian King, aka Chad Hogan. He says, "What's the best boxing comeback? Sugar Ray Leonard's or George Foreman's? The best comeback?" I was going to say Henry Masker.
I'm assuming George Foreman, like against what do you call him, Moorer.
Yeah, I think the run when they came back, who had the best sort of run of opponents? I think maybe Brian's saying.
Well, I can see with Leonard, but at the end of the day, Leonard was kind of like very, very selective when who he'd pick in that. I mean, one thing always rankled me with that third fight against Duran. The two guys is they're past their prime, but enough name value for another payday. But then he requests to have a fucking catch weight. But I would probably need to say Ali's come back. After being out for so long. He came back, he fought Jimmy Quarry, I think it was, and Oscar Bonavena. Those two guys were like top 10 heavyweights at that time. Nowadays you didn't come back after being 3 years out the ring and fight guys like that in the top 10. Nowadays they're fucking fighting guys in the top 1,000.
Even if they don't have a layoff, they're fighting guys in the top 1,000. Look at Danny Garcia.
Aye. We're talking about like fights here, behind or just like a career.
I think he's talking about whenever they came back after the layoff and their run of fights from that point onwards. Because am I right in saying George Foreman? I always think of the fights against Shannon Briggs and Mora, and I think he fought Holyfield, didn't he? But whenever he came back, which would have been in the late 80s, Foreman actually would have had like maybe 10, 15 nondescript fights, wouldn't he? Like against, he built himself up for a while.
Aye. Well, you got Big Vitaly Klitschko. He came back. He was at the ring for what?
4 years.
4 years.
4 or 5 years.
Aye, definite.
Larry Holmes had a very respectable.
I was going to say Larry Holmes. Aye, Larry Holmes came back and fought. Well, after he lost to Spinks, he went away for a while. When he came back, he fought Tyson.
He went away after that too.
Schooled Ray Mercer, man. That was an unbelievable.
That was fantastic.
Mercer as well. You could probably say Tyson after prison, I suppose. Evander Holyfield, how he just kept coming back, I suppose, for the heavyweight title. Who was that Brazilian guy? He was quite a low weight guy.
Edward Joffrey.
That's the one. That's the one. Remember he'd retired for a wee while and came back, and he was
featherweight. No, super bantamweight.
Aye, running a bit the weights, mate. Aye, you've got to put Leonard in there, I suppose, as well. Sugar Ray.
I think for a historical point, just winning the heavyweight title again, I'd say maybe George Foreman, but. Leonard's probably got the better names, hasn't he?
I suppose, but then you've got Ali, as I says, he came back after 3 years. George Foreman definitely.
Bonavena gave Frazier hell, didn't he? He put him down twice in the first round, didn't that?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Did he not fight him twice? Sure, he fought a couple of times.
He whooped his ass in the second fight.
Yep.
But as for the greatest, you would probably need to go with Ali. I would say. I mean, as I said, Leonard was very selective. Ali came back and fought. Okay, he had the golden generation of heavyweights, but he could easily ducked them, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the question was simply who was better, Leonard or Foreman.
What do you think, Dave?
The better career, or was it no like who has got the better career?
The better comeback, I think, right?
Yeah,
I would say Foreman's. Because Leonard was selective, because his greatest moment in the comeback was against Hagler. And he did have that 12-round stipulation. He had the small glove stipulation, and it was a very close fight. Foreman did it by knockout, and it was just such a poetic bookend how he had lost his title, getting rope-a-doped, and then he kind of rope-a-doped Michael Moore in the same trunks he wore in Zaire with his gut hanging out. I mean, it was a. I mean, there's nothing greater than winning the heavyweight title by knockout, right?
So was it open-ended then? Just related to these two
just
careers?
between, but sure, that's okay. I mean, you can take it wherever you want. But between them two, Andy, Leonard and Foreman, I think maybe as Dave was sort of summing it up, I wouldn't disagree with what he said there too much.
Nah, I can't disagree with it. You can't. I mean, if you think about just the way he destroyed opponents now, okay, after his second career kind of kicked off, he did fight some dross coming up there. I mean, Axel Schultz, for example, that guy we know he was on the juice, not these ex-East German guys. Have a couple of fights that maybe potentially weren't even sanctioned. So like that GBU title fight he had in Japan and all that sort of stuff. Foreman came back to kind of fight for the money at the same time, but he also created history. So if it's out of those two, you're gonna. I know that I'm inclined to say Foreman, but what Leonard also done as well was pretty special, but he did cherry pick it, and the light heavyweight title that he picked up in a super middleweight title fight was complete bullshit.
And talking about Axel Schultz there, Andy, just to bring this particular point to a close, he's another one who came back after many years later. He got knocked out by Vladimir Klitschko in 1999, but he had the itch, and back in 2006, 7 years later, he came back to fight Brian Minto. And this is one of them ones where I remember they all came on the screen beforehand, and George Foreman uttered that famous line. Yep. He said, "If you win this fight, they're going to look at you as the greatest heavyweight that ever lived." I mean, I don't know how much George was getting paid for his little cameo appearance there, but Axel Schultz anyway got knocked out in the 6th round.
Did they not get schooled by Franz Botha, and then Botha failed the drugs test for steroids, whatever it was?
That's right. Botha failed, wasn't it? IBF title, wasn't it?
Oh, talking about Botha, actually. Here, Smido, did you watch that thing about Idris Elba?
No, I had it on record, but I didn't bother watching it, to be honest.
I was going to say, because he went down to Africa for a sparring session, and he was sparring with Franz Botha, eh?
Really?
Aye, it was, aye. I noticed him in it.
Yeah, I deleted it yesterday because I just wasn't watching it. I'd rather watch proper boxing, to be honest.
Right, let's move on. Ben, we're going to wrap up these questions as quickly as we can. I was speaking during the week. I was a bit behind on this news. Paco Valcarcel was talking about Hughie Fury hadn't signed the contract to fight Joe Parker. Rest assured, Mr. Fury has signed on time and it's all going ahead. April the 1st, I think that one is, Ben. Any word on what was going on there? Why Hughie was delaying, or maybe there was no delay or something?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure what happened. It was a bit strange, you know. But then Frank Warren sent that tweet out saying they'd signed it. Exactly what happened behind the scenes, I'm not quite sure of, to be honest with you.
Well, everything was going smoothly, and there was talky Peter not getting into New Zealand, not getting a visa to get in, and that's when shit went kind of tits up. But signed anyway, isn't it?
Yep, let's race through these. Smido, a question from Joey at Master Mode. He said, I was watching Triple S. I think this is maybe Sanjeev Sahota on Friday night. If I'm wrong, Joey, then correct me. I'm not sure who Triple S is. And his opponent had 105 losses. Enzo and Lillis talked about the nightmare he had in his last fight and how this was a confidence boost. But a question for you, Smido. Does fighting a guy with so many losses really boost confidence, or does it just hide reality? Good question.
I think someone that's that stage of their career pretty early, and as we as aware, even as
unfortunately, Smido's took a loss there. No confidence boost for him, Andy. But if you were going in against someone with 150 losses or whatever, would you feel good that you'd beaten him, or is it just hiding reality, as Joey says?
What fight was that, mate?
I think Sahota was fighting on Friday night against some journeyman who'd had like 100-odd losses. But just as a general point, if you're beating these journeymen with all these losses on their record, is that a good thing, or is it just masking reality?
I suppose it's got its place. I mean, if you're a young guy coming up, no amateur experience, then sure. But I'm trying to think. There was a fighter there recently. That's who it was. What do you call him? The heavyweight guy. He knocked out of Joseph Parker, German. What's his name?
Oh, Dimitrenko.
I watched a fight of his. His last fight was a 6 or an 8 rounder in an actual gym in Germany. That was an actual gym. This guy has something like 30 odd losses in his defeat. All that was a confidence builder, padding his record, and just get to kind of smash guys up. He would have had better sparring sessions. He's probably fucking sparred Klitschko a number of times. I suppose, as I say, it serves its purpose at a point to a degree, especially the guy's durable and he can take a young prospect rounds or whatever. And that. But if they're just coming in and getting smashed and dropped and getting blown over in one round and stuff like that, then there's no purpose to them.
Smido, you dropped off. Is there anything briefly you want to say before we go on to the Hay-Bellew preview?
No, not really. I've got plenty to say for the previews.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, we have 4 or 5 other questions in the bank. We'll get to them at the end after Bellew of the Weeks, because I really want to get onto the previews now. We have quite a healthy listenership and a good panel on, so let's not hold back any further. Right, we've got it up on BoxRec in front of me here. Saturday the 4th of March, Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing Promotions. David Hay against Tony Bellew. It says pending approval. Hopefully the British Boxing Board will hurry up and approve this one. Sam Eggington on the undercard against Paulie Malignaggi, O'Hara Davis against Derry Matthews, and Lee Selby against Andoni.
Come on, Derry!
Tommy, let's hear from you first. I'm not actually going to be watching this fight. It's a busy weekend for me next week. There's two shows in Belfast, one on Friday night and one on Saturday night. So I will be following the money and going to the show and maybe watching Bellew Hay when I get in. What will I be seeing when I get in at 1 o'clock in the morning, Tommy, and I go to watch the fight on YouTube? What will I have seen happen?
Tommy getting arrested at fucking
what will happen? You'll turn YouTube on, and the first thing you'll see is the video's length's about 5 minutes. So that's obviously going to you're going to click straight away what's happened there, and it's the inevitable. David Hay has knocked out Tony Bellew pretty sharpish. I think it's going to be in the first 3 rounds. I'm betting David Hay in the first round. I think he could knock him out in the first round. It definitely will not go past 3 rounds. I'm going down to it next week. A big Hay fan. I can't wait for this. I think he's going to smash Bellew to bits. It's going to be.
It's going to be brutal, Andy. It's going to be brutal. I'll tell you what I will be seeing on YouTube probably. I'll be going on and seeing Tony Bellew versus David Hay full fight, and then when I click on it, it'll be someone talking and all the little thumbs down.
You go to YouTube page, you try to find the links to the fight and that, and it says live discussion. You'll go to this link, and it's like a fucking porn site or some shit. See, right.
We've all been there.
I've never wavered. I think Hay's going to chin him, right. I watched the behind the rope stuff last night. Hay just complete troll mode, sitting there on the shit. He's just putting out a persona and stuff. I don't believe for a second he's on top of a fucking yacht. Fucking Shane's fucking holding pads with his suntan lotion on and his shades, because Shane's like fucking whiter than a bowl of milk, right? It's all for sure. He's got to be in the gym fucking working hard, man. Definitely. Bellew, in my opinion, the guy is crazy, and I'll probably say it in a good sense, right? I don't mean that he's absolutely fucking mental and all that sort of stuff. I don't really know the guy, but I think if it comes down to it, if Hay gets caught with a shot and it's a heavy one, Bellew has got. We all know he's got the power, right? We all know he carries a wee bit. Yeah, I'd just like to see him if he clips Hay. What's the reaction? And I think if he does see a reaction in Hay's legs or whatever, I think Bellew will just fucking basically go for it, and that is when he could be very, very dangerous. And if he just catches him with a counter, because remember the Chisora fight when I think it was the second knockdown. Chisora kind of like threw a wild left hook, and Hay just kind of caught my right hand and rolled underneath the hook. And basically knocked him out. I think that's what could happen, mate. Especially if Bellew decides to get too greedy and step in and just go fucking nuts, he's going to get caught. I could see it being a bit of a bone fight if Bellew comes out and just decides to do what he did against Adonis, just kind of circle the ring and move about and just pop a jab out here and there, let Hay try to lead and try and catch him with something. But as I say, I ain't paying for this shit. Absolutely no fucking chance. I hope Derry Matthews does the business. I forget what else is on the card again. I need to go and check it. But
Eggington,
Malignaggi, yeah.
Is that on that card?
Yeah.
I thought it was headlining. Oh, for fuck's sake. I thought it was headlining like a kind of normal Sky show. That's shocking. That's on pay-per-view. All right. Well, I'm not really caring about that fight. I hope Eggington actually smashes that whiny wee bitch up anyway. I hate his voice, so hopefully he fucking punches him in the throat and breaks his larynx so they kind of listen to the cunt. Absolutely annoying little minge. There we go. I think Hay will do it. Definitely knock him out. Probably well before 6 rounds. I'm going to go for like Hay 4th round knockout.
He came away with a couple of good comments tonight on the Gloves Are Off. He says, if I could design a fighter from scratch who was tailor-made for me, one of the first options would be Tony Bellew style. It's pretty much true enough. The guy is basic. He's quite slow. He's not got great footwork. He fights upright and he gets hit. I think it's just a no-brainer, man. He's made for he's going to destroy him, and he's smaller than him as well.
Hey, to Dave, Tony's quite temperamental. People can get into his head, and Hay is the master of winding people up. We saw Tony trying to go for him after he knocked out BJ Flores, and there's a chance that he's going to come out, rush of blood to the head, and try and knock his head off. We had a question in from Boxing Space, Dave, which I'm going to ask you. He says, what are your thoughts on David Hay's antics in the lead up to the fight? Is he trolling, or genuinely is he just that much of a cunt?
Well, there's no limit to how much of a cunt David Hay is. I really don't care whether he's trolling or not. I assume he's playing some head games. It's actually kind of annoying to have to even discuss this fight because I really don't feel like it should be happening. Not at heavyweight anyway. I mean, if Hay was still a cruiserweight, that's one thing. But this is a disgraceful money fight, and I just hope that Bellew can pull out some sort of miracle shot and upset the odds here. Because I mean, I see it ending in about 2-3 rounds. Hay's just going to land a bomb, and the ref will stop it. But I hope Bellew wins. It would be hilarious, but I don't think it's happening.
Ben, I'm not sure how you're going to be watching this one. I asked Amir Khan earlier, and he was quite vague. Are you going to be streaming, pay-per-viewing? You don't have to necessarily tell us if you don't want to. You'll be sitting at home, obviously, watching it.
Unless by a miracle I get a press pass from Mr. Lever in Matchroom, I'm streaming it. I'm not paying for this.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath.
Yeah, I'm not expecting one, but if I do get one, I will go. Yeah, otherwise I'm streaming it. I'm sit on my house and stream it on my couch.
How do you see it going? I mean, Hay,
if Hay catches him, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. He's got the punch, he's got the speed. If he catches Tony, expect Tony to go, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how long it'll last, but if Hay catches him at any point, it's lights out for Bellew.
If you were in Bellew's corner, you were Big Dave Coldwell there, the little angry ferret. Would you? Yeah, I think that sums the fight up. Would you, Ben, be telling Tony to come out and have a go at him and meet him head on? Would you try and do the running act he did against Stevenson in Canada? How would you approach it?
Yeah, I'd tell him to move. I wouldn't tell him to go in for it. I'd tell him to keep moving.
Just get the job.
He's going to tell me to run. He's going to go the Adonis Stevenson route, hasn't he?
Yeah. Could we see, though, guys, Hay may be gassing if Tony runs and pokes and holds, and
if it goes
gets
long,
to the 8th round, it gets to the 9th round,
That's the only question, Marcus, over the fight, is it? That's got to be their tactics, just to get Hay by maybe 4 or 5 rounds and hope that he gasses, just try and fiddle their way through it, even if they go down. But if there's any sort of, there's punches traded, there's only one winner going to win this fight early.
But Tommy, we're talking about Hay gassing, but I mean, Bellew's not exactly the epitome of fitness in some of his later fights either, is he?
He's not, but he's better conditioned than he's been in. You've got to say that he's been in fights and that lately. He's going to hear his engine's no questionable. You know what I mean? It's
light heavyweight was questionable.
I think he was losing a lot of weight. He was losing a lot of weight down there. I think what I'm trying to say is he's got a lot more question marks than Bellew. I don't think we have seen Bellew tiring, but we need to see David take extended past 4 or 5 rounds to suss him out.
Steve, for me, firstly, I've got to say I think the pay-per-view is a joke. The undercard's shocking, and it's no coincidence that virtually nearly exactly a year previous, the last Matchroom pay-per-view that was a shared promotion had a terrible undercard. That was Frampton Quigg, and this Saturday we've got another terrible undercard, and it's with Haymaker / whoever it is, box star or ring star, whatever they're frigging called. Secondly, I would say that I've been a massive critic of Bellew and will continue to be so. I think he's a bell end, and just because he's been on someone else's podcast and acted like one of the lads, don't mean I'm going to change my opinion. I still think he's a bell end. David Day hasn't fought anyone with a pulse for pushing 5.5 years. That was Derek Chisora after a bit of a layoff, where I thought Hay, I watched that fight actually back the other day. I thought Hay looked slower than he normally does. Obviously, he was bigger than he normally was, and he actually got caught by Chisora in, I think, the 5th round. I'm giving Bellew a chance, to be fair. I think I'm pretty much the only one that is. I think that Bellew going in and running, and he's proven he can run. He's proven against he tried against Adonis to run. He proved it against McKenzie in the second fight. I think he won the European title virtually by running on a Frotch undercard one time. I forgot the fella's name. So he has got that in his locker, Bellew. But I think that's a bad idea. I think David Day is too quick. And we'll try and cut the ring off and just land some shots from the outside if Bellew tries and runs. I think that's a bad idea. I think the best idea for Bellew is he needs to land, and he needs to do it as soon as possible. I think so. I think the running idea for me, although it could still happen for Bellew, I wouldn't advise it. So I think we might see him try and go for it a little bit from the off. David Day's not been hit for 5.5 years. And it's not necessarily something that you can easily practice, to be fair. We've seen with Bellew get hit by a range of power, different power, guys with different levels of power, and he normally gets up, to be fair. So I'm giving Bellew a chance. Bellew's 5-1 to win the fight. So my strategy is, as I am not paying to watch the fight, to invest the same amount of what the pay-per-view is, 15 quid or whatever, on Bellew to win at 5-1. Hay's obviously the favourite. He should be the favourite. I'm not saying he shouldn't be. But I'm just giving Bellew a chance. If he lands on Hay, then we're going to find out what Hay's got left. Is he too big? Has he got the tank? Is he still as fast as what he used to be? We've just not learned anything from his last 2 fights. I think that it's very cynical. The hater Dave related to it. It's very, very cynical from all involved. It's a horrible payday fight that really, when you strip it down from all the bullshit.
When you strip it down. You still with us, Smid?
You strip him down.
I think we got the idea of what he was saying there. But I mean, this is the state of boxing right now. I mean, this is why Amir Khan can get a shot at the middleweight title for beating Chris Algieri in like a 7-5 fight.
Adam, speak to me.
Yeah, I'm the only one. I'm giving Bellew a chance. I'm going to back Bellew. I still think he's a bell end. I think they're both bell ends. It's a horribly cynical fight, but I'm giving Bellew a chance, and I think I'm the only one. I'm wrong nearly every week.
Prediction, Smido. Prediction.
Yeah, this is what we're doing. Right, Smido, go on. Give us your prediction for the main event.
Right, it's very left field, but I'm going for Bellew. It's not going the distance, so I'm going to have to pick Bellew KO.
What about his weight? In fact, what about both
Yeah. My next question.
I don't think Bellew's going to be bothered about. I don't think he's really going to be bothered about his weight. I think maybe 210, maybe something around there for Bellew. Hay has fluctuated at quite a lot, really. I think Hay will be similar. I don't think either of them actually care. They're not going to be using the weight as tactics. I don't think it really matters, to be honest, to them or to me. But I think Bellew probably about 210. Remember, he cuts £10 nice and easy. This time he ain't got to cut that £10, so that's my mathematics.
And Smido, tell me Eggington against Malignaggi. What's your prediction?
I think Eggington will win by KO. I think that he's too big for Paulie, to be honest. I know that sounds daft because Paulie's been knocking about a welterweight for a while. Paulie is as a retired fighter, and he shouldn't really be fighting for my liking. He's a very good commentator and analysis, and that's where his work should be. I don't really get what the end game is here because Paulie Malignaggi beat Sam Eggington. What does that do for Malignaggi, the other side of the Atlantic? Shit all. No one really cares in America about this fight. I just don't quite get it. I think he's going to try and out-cute Eggington. He's probably going to run, show him a few angles, dipping and diving. But I think Eggington will get to him around the 8th round. And talking of retired fighters, Derry Matthews has retired with has flirted with retirement for a few years now, literally a few years. And he fights O'Hara Davis. Obviously, we all want O'Hara Davis to get beat, but I can't see it happening, to be honest. I think Derry Matthews is well past his best.
What ranks, Mido?
I think Derry Matthews might make it to points, to be honest. Points lost. O'Hara to win on points.
Go on then, Hay today. First Bellew, Hay. What's your prediction?
As I said, first 2 to 3 rounds, I'll go Hay KO 3.
And what about Eggington Malignaggi?
Say Eggington points.
And Davis Matthews?
Davis KO 7.
Okay, Guru, what about you for the same 3?
Hay KO, Eggington points, and O'Hara Davis stoppage. Yep.
What round for Hay, Guru?
I'm going to say I'll see the second round. I think it'll be in the first 3 rounds. It's not going by 3 rounds. I'll say round 2. I'll see Eggington on points and maybe O'Hara Davis around the 7th or 8th round by referee stoppage. Referee will stop the fight or the corner.
Okay, Ben, Bellew, Hay for you.
I think he's going to stop him. It's in the 6th round, probably.
6th round, okay. And what about Eggington Malignaggi?
I was watching some videos of Malignaggi and he seems quite determined. And I think what he was saying was that he wants to try and leave in the top 10, sort of retire with a sort of good standing. And obviously, he's a much better boxer than Eggington. Obviously, he's past it though. That's the only thing. But I can still see Malignaggi pulling it off on points. I think I'll go with Malignaggi.
And
As much as I don't like him.
Yep. What about O'Hara against Derry?
Yeah, I think O'Hara win that. I'd probably stop him. I don't want him to, obviously.
Yeah.
I think O'Hara win that.
Fair enough. Last but by no means least, well, apart from myself, Andy, the same three for you.
Bellew. Hay within 4 or 5 rounds. Eggington, hopefully by massacre, but safe bet. Points. I just think he'll be very relentless. I don't think Malignaggi will kind of stand up to the pace. I'm not saying that he's anything like Sean Porter or Eggington, but he just put a lot of pressure on. Potentially, Paulie could, will cause him problems early doors with the jab and stuff, but I just think Eggington will gradually wear him down and maybe just make him quit, and then can let him listen to that whine and that New York accent, and hopefully Eggington takes his side piece in that as well. So, and unfortunately, I think O'Hara Davis will probably beat Derry Matthews. Maybe bust up his nose and that. Matthews is short, or he's well past his best, but you would think that Davis is going to probably. It wouldn't surprise me to take him to points actually as well.
Andy, with the greatest of respect for Eggington, I would say that his side piece probably isn't of much interest to Malignaggi. Bless her. Right, anyway, finally for me, I'm going to say David Haye to knock out Tony Bellew in the 5th round. I'm going to go for Paulie Malignaggi to beat Eggington on points, and I'm going to say O'Hara Davis knocks out Derry Matthews in the 4th round. Right, so remember all that. That'll all be completely wrong next week. The second major card of interest, we shall hopefully get hold of this one. I don't know if Sky is showing it. Hopefully Box Nation will be showing it. I am a Box Nation fan myself, and I would prefer it if they were showing this Danny Garcia versus Keith Thurman fight. Another Lou DiBella promotion in the Barclays Centre, New York. He's 33-0, Danny Garcia, going up against 27-0 Keith Thurman. The WBC and WBA Super World titles on the line. On the undercard, pretty decent undercard. I have praised the PBC over the last few weeks. I think they're doing a pretty good job at the moment. Erickson Lubin stepping up against Jorge Cota. Andre Fonfara, not much love for this fight against Chad Dawson. I'm happy enough to see that. Heather Hardy's also fighting in female action. I know Hay Dave loves the female boxers. And then Mario Barrios, someone who I'm not particularly too fond of, but he's doing okay, against Yardley Suarez. Also, Sergei Lipinets is on that card as well. Right. Now, if anyone remembers, Mr. Spear Jab himself, the depressed potato Seb, was on the call a few months ago. I'd say you probably all washed out your ears since then. And he had a go at me for picking Danny Garcia to beat Keith Thurman. I'm not going to change my mind at all, Guru. I am going for Garcia. I know it's not a popular decision. His old man is a complete piece of shit. But I just think that Garcia is going to beat Thurman. I'm not convinced by Thurman. I think he's regressed. I think he's hiding something. I think there's a reason why he's running away from people, because he doesn't like it to the body. And I think Danny, for all his faults, is a pretty hard puncher, and he's going to hurt Thurman, and he's going to beat him on points. Where am I going wrong, Guru, with that prediction? Tommy. You go on, Dave.
I don't think it's a bad pick, honestly. I give Danny Garcia a very good chance in this fight. I slightly edge to Thurman because I think he's got the athletic advantage, and I think his style is going to give Garcia problems. He did very badly with Herrera's movement and speed. So I think Thurman should look to move and jab his head off and break his nose. That would be a hell of a game plan. And if he executed against Danny and just like bloodied him and won all 12 rounds, that would be a very respectable win. Even if he didn't knock him out and live up to the one-time thing, which he hasn't done for a little while now. You don't need to knock him out. I mean, get the win. That's what's important here. Danny has the experience against higher level guys, though. Some of them quite big guys who can punch too. So, yeah, it's going to be tough for Thurman to stay disciplined. But he did against Sean Porter, and Porter made it very difficult for him. He was there all 12 rounds and didn't gas. I think Garcia's a bigger puncher, so Thurman's going to have to mind himself. And I also think Garcia is probably faster than Porter and more accurate. He doesn't have the gas tank that Porter has, though. So, yeah, I think those are the differences. But we might see something similar to that. Aside from the amount of activity, it's going to be more tactical, I think. While Thurman looks to circle and avoid the big power shot. I would love to see Thurman knock him out, but I don't think that he's going to. Garcia has a hell of a chin. I mean, he took that right-hand bomb from Matisse that sent his mouthpiece like skittering into the 6th row or something, and it hurt him, but not too badly, and he didn't go down. I just shook him up briefly, and he was right back in the fight. So, yeah, he's got a really good chin, I think, especially for a Puerto Rican, as Andy would probably remark. But he is a Philly guy, so that makes sense. So I hope it would be great to see Angel crying ringside as his son was like flat on the canvas sleeping, but I don't think we're going to see it. I think Thurman's going to take it to points, and I think it's going to be maybe some kind of 7-5, 8-4 win for Thurman with some nervous moments. I think he's going to get hurt, but work through it.
We've had some correspondence from my good friend Dab on Twitter, and he has confirmed that indeed the Thurman-Garcia fight is on Box Nation. I thought I'd seen the promotional material coming through my email, but just was second-guessing myself there, Andy. Let's have a look at Danny Garcia's record, shall we? Ever since that excellent win over Lucas Matisse, he's had 3 years, or 2 or 3 years, that to forget, really, I think. I'm looking at Mauricio Herrera, trying to remember that fight. I think it was a very close fight. There was an argument for Herrera winning that one. Rod Salka, don't even have to say anything about that one, Andy. Lamont Peterson, again, that was quite a close one. The weight was an issue, I believe, at that time. Then Danny knocked out Paulie Malignaggi. We've just spoke about that. He was pretty much finished by that point. Robert Guerrero, another guy whose best years are way behind him. And then this Samuel Vargas in this non-title fight last time out. Danny has hardly had a reign of terror. Dave Loback just messaged me there saying Herrera schooled him. Apologies there, Dave. What I'm saying is, Andy, the last few fights, you think Garcia might have a bit of trouble with Thurman, given that he's been fighting a few stiffs and a few past-it fighters. Whenever Keith hits him hard and fast and often, he might start to feel the effects of all those dud fights.
I pretty much endorse everything Dave the Hater just said there, actually. I do expect the kind of closest fight. Garcia's no trash. He's decent in every department. He's just no world class. As you say, as he gets all these kind of gimme fights and stuff, some of them don't even get sanctioned because they know it's a bullshit fight. This is a guy who once claimed that he prided himself on being like the old school fighters. So if that's the case, then he'd be defending his title every other couple of months. So let's just get this right. In 4.5, 5 years since he became world champion, right? Danny Garcia's had 9 defences. Cesar Chavez had 21 in the same time frame. Arguello had 23. Duran had 28 in the same time frame. So I think we can just discard any talk on being like an old school fighter. I expected it to be a technical battle. Thurman, I'm really interested about his gas tank. I think Garcia might push it down the stretch, where it's probably well known that Thurman maybe kind of like gassy slightly. I don't think his power's all that. I think probably the heavier banger here, I actually believe to be Garcia. That's just my opinion, though, because I've seen him actually like leg ice to waist. Thurman, not so much. You saw him against Bundu. Bundu's a good European level fighter, but he still couldn't get him out of there, even though he'd hurt him a couple of times and might even dropped him once or whatever. But but saying that, I think Thurman might have enough about him in the end just to kind of eke out a 115, 113 type scorecard. But no, my thought could change before next week, actually. But at the minute, I'm kind of still siding with Thurman.
Right, the Guru's back with us, Tommy. We've had a look down Garcia's record. Let's have a look at Thurman now. In and around the same sort of time that Garcia was beating Lucas Matisse, Thurman was stopping Diego Chavez. I remember that fight. That was the first time I'd really sat up and took notice of Thurman. I'd seen him beat Zavek, and I think he was still with Oscar at the time, and he was calling out Mayweather at the end of the Chavez fight. And I thought, this guy's got a bit about him. He's a puncher. He's knockouts for life and all that. Let's have a brief look at what happened after Chavez. He knocked out Soto Carras. That's a decent enough win. Beat Julio Diaz, whose best win days were behind him, Tommy. Knocked down Bundu in the first round, and I thought, oh, here we go. Bundu's a tough guy. And then he proceeded to fight really strangely for the next 10 or 11 rounds, I thought. Then he beat Robert Guerrero. Again, Guerrero, decent enough. Collazo, I thought, hurt him to the body, and then he ended up retiring in the 7th. And then Tommy, I'll give Thurman his due. The win over Porter was a good win.
Definitely.
What do you think?
My prediction for the fight, I'm just going to say Danny Garcia, there's a lot of fights he's underperformed in, but when he's faced with a challenge, a good fighters, a lot of people are putting against him, he rises to the occasion, and I've got a funny feeling he'll do it again next week. I fancy him strongly to beat Thurman, possibly by knockout. It's a good fight. I've listed it as one of the fights I was really looking forward to for last year that could be made. You can see Keith Thurman win the fight. Keith Thurman's a very good fighter. There's no doubt about that. I've just got a gut feeling that Garcia's going to he's going to get him out of there. I think. Yep, definitely. Oh man, I'm definitely going to go with Garcia. I think the left hook's a big factor in the fight. I think he's going to land the left hook. I think Garcia's probably got the best left hook in the sport. I can definitely see him stopping him.
Definitely see him stopping him, Ben. How do you see this one going? Stoppage either way, do you think, or could it be a points affair?
I think Keith Thurman's definitely a better boxer, smarter fighter. But as much as I want Keith Thurman to win, I think Danny Garcia is going to do it as well. I think he's definitely going to try and work Thurman's body. And like Tommy said, his left hook's fantastic. So late on, that could be a deciding factor, perhaps. But I think Garcia is going to take this one.
Final word to you, Smido. Adam, Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia versus Keith Thurman. Smido, is it exciting you?
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm picking Garcia as well. So I think there's a few of us setting ourselves up to be wrong, really. Thurman's the betting favourite. Not sure whether that's right. I think Garcia has been a victim. I'm going to defend him a little bit. I think he's been the main victim of Al Haymon and the PBC, certainly from the get-go. And the little bit of transitional period that the PBC's gone through, and the start of 2017, okay, and I hope that continues. When he has been faced with a test, he's took it, going all the way back to Amir Khan, Matisse, Peterson to an extent, and now Thurman. So I'm going to give Garcia credit there. As Tommy said, he does step up when necessary. Some of the interim fights have been absolutely terrible. No getting away from that. Thurman went into the wilderness a little bit. He was possibly another victim of the PBC in the last couple of years. But the Porter fight was really where he came out. To me, Thurman and showed himself as world class. It's a fantastic fight. I think with Kell Brook in the argument, it's definitely two of the top 3 welterweights in the world, which is what we definitely want to see. And I think, as also has been mentioned as well, the left hook's going to be key. I think Garcia holds the power, and it's definitely going to come down to fitness and a bit of experience, and who wants it more down the stretch. And I think that's where we're going. I can't see it finishing early, and I think I'm going to go for Garcia on a reasonably close points.
I am going to put my neck on the line, and I'm going to say, similar to Tommy, I'm going for Danny Garcia by 10th round knockout over Keith Thurman. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. It is on Box Nation. Very briefly, anyone want to talk about the undercard? Good to see Erickson Lubin stepping up. A lot of people seem to think Fonfara is going to beat Dawson. I know Dawson has looked like shit, and he struggles with the weight and blah, blah, blah. I think he's going to pull the performance out. I'm going for Dawson in that one. As for the other fights, no real interest. Any brief comments?
I think it depends what Dawson turns up. If Dawson turns up like he can and box like he can, he should win that fight. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that he will. I'm going for Fonfara as well. I think Fonfara win the fight.
Yeah, I think
Chances far too inconsistent. I think.
Yeah, Prime Dawson, Tommy. Do you remember the Dawson, though, Andy, that fought against Thomas Adamek? That Dawson, I think, runs rings around him, but it's not that version anymore, is it?
But that was how far back? That's gone back.
Years,
that was like
7 or 8 years
2007
ago.
or something, wasn't it? 2006.
I mean, there was one fight member who was up at like 190 or something like that as well. But no, I can see what people are getting at. I mean, it's definitely a good crossroads fight, either way you look at it. I've never been a fan of Chad Dawson. Fanfara's okay. He's it's been value for money, so to speak. He brings it. He gets outboxed. He's not a great boxer, but he's a tough fucker. But he obviously got caught by Joe Smith there. He was getting outboxed against Gabriel Campillo until he just turned it round. But then Campillo's always been kind of slightly dodgy about the chin and stuff. The other one, Erickson Lubin, I expect him to be stopping this guy. I don't think there's any reason that Rubin should be actually going, any more than a handful of rounds with this guy. I think he should be kind of basically smashing this guy out here pretty early. I know he's got a decent win over Udo Johnson. You can't really knock that. It's a decent win, but at the same time, even though he's got a decent knockout percentage, some of the guys he's been fighting are not all that whatsoever. So I know it's a 12-rounder, so maybe it's some sort of kind of WBC title eliminator or whatever it is, but I would really expect Lubin to be knocking this guy out. Probably
that's Cota. That's Cota, isn't it, Andy? I think didn't he get stopped by Marco Antonio Rubio a few years ago?
I think it was, mate. I think that might have been a late stoppage or something like that. I don't know if it's his only defeat, I think, actually, but as I say, I remember the Udo Johnson fight. He'd done no bad, but if I remember rightly, it's the same guy. Then he's got a lot on his record that suggests he's been fighting kind of like club fighters, so to speak. That's what's kind of like boosting his resume or his knockout percentage as well. There's a few stiffs on that record, like.
Right. Any other final comments?
But then don't forget the chick fights on the Heather Hardy fight. She's actually quite good value for money. I've seen her fight a couple of times.
They'll not show that probably Box Nation, will they? I wouldn't have thought.
Would you drink her bad week?
I probably would, mate. She's smoking, man. She's smoking, like.
Smoking!
She's tall, too. She was almost as tall as me when I met her in Ithaca, New York at her film screening.
What was she wearing, Dave?
I don't think she was wearing a bra.
What were you wearing, Dave?
I was wearing nothing, as usual.
Just a smile.
That's right.
Right, is there anything you want to say about the undercard, Mr. Lobo?
Under my overcoat, dangling free.
Not much.
Come on, Dave.
No, this Lubin guy, I've not seen him before, but his record is attractive. You mean these guys aren't great, but lots of knockouts. I'm surprised the guy was never an Olympian. He's only 21, so lots of time to improve. Yeah, I hope for the best for him. So I'll be watching him. And the Dawson Fanfara fight, it's a fight that really makes sense right now with both guys potentially facing either a big step down to 6-rounders or retirement.
Right, okay. Like I said, we've got a few questions at the end, just very brief ones. Before we get on to that, where are we? 20 past 10. We're doing okay for time. We have about 10 minutes set aside for the Bellew of the week. It's a strong one, as my friend James Bairstow said. There's lots of Bellew-worthy content flying about the internet this weekend, as you always have when there's these many shit talkers floating about. Right, first one. Who sent this? I think it was Ben Thorms who sent this one to me. A Bellew of the Week nomination for this knobhead on my Facebook page, Adam Ramsden. Basically, there's a video of Triple G doing an interview in Kazakh, and then some joker has inserted subtitles saying, "Yes, I'm scared of Amir Khan. His speed is too much for me." Only for that cocksucker Ramsden to comment, "I don't understand. Wouldn't Triple G beat Khan?" It just made me laugh. So I think Mr. Ramsden was fooled by the subtitles there on that one. Nomination for Shehzad. He said, apparently George Foreman said nobody knew who Conor McGregor was before he called out Floyd Mayweather. Shehzad said, well, George Foreman, I've only just heard of you, to be honest. You clearly know nothing about MMA. If nobody knew the notorious MMA, Floyd wouldn't want it.
Fucking hell.
Even my fucking dementia-ridden grandmother remembers who George Foreman is.
That's sort of a two-way value.
Good old Shehzad. We'll stick him down. Right, a good a boxer that I was always a fan of, although I'm not so sure about him now, Mr. Yusuf Mack. Apparently, Yusuf Mack beats down Beats down Twitter troll in barbershop after gay attacks. We actually had a couple of them in for this one. Yusuf Mack beat the crap out of a man he claims has been harassing him online over his sexual orientation. Leave Yusuf alone, Andy.
He kicked the fucking shit out of him, man. He was in the barber shop. A guy was in the chair, walked in, fucking right hand, put him down, stamping on him, fucking digging him. Oh, it was just brutality, man. So I was waiting for
threw a basket of shit at him as well, didn't he?
Is there video of it?
Aye, somebody videoed it.
Share it in the chat so I can tweet it to all of our fans.
Yeah, we want to see Yusuf in action. You want to see Yusuf in action, Dave?
Yes, it's been a while since the Dog Pound release.
Bestseller. Dog Pound.
Right, nomination from Mr. Jamaica sent in for me for last week. I didn't realise that the Boxing Kingdom is actually a parody of Boxing Kingdom, and I read out the piss take pound for pound list last week. Now, to be honest, I'll take it. I'm happy to take the Bellew of the Week nomination. I didn't realise that there was 2 or 3 of these things going about, and I was sent it in. So apparently, I got spoofed there, and they caught in the net of the Boxing Kingdom.
Always be careful, mate. Always, you know, in our position, because we're well respected in that what we do. You know, you've got to watch everything you say. You've got to reread and triple read all these shit before you actually start commenting on it. Learn from me, and you go far, mate.
I'll have to take more note of you, Andy, in future. It was an amateur mistake, and I can assure everybody that it probably will happen again. Right, nomination for Skip Bayless. He says, Floyd may or may not whether is about to become a has-been. He is using Conor McGregor to stay relevant. Floyd cannot risk losing to an MMA fighter. Conor McGregor has punching power that Floyd has never seen before.
Jesus Christ.
Just back on the troll.
Skip just fucking, he hates Floyd with a vengeance. Absolutely fucking hates him. And his sidekick Shannon Sharp always stands up for him, but he just fucking hates Floyd Mayweather full stop on that. He always believed that Pacquiao would fucking school him, but there we go.
Who is this Floyd Bayless character? Is he like off Showtime or something, or Fox Sports?
Nah, he used to work on ESPN. I think he's on one of there, and he works through Dave, isn't he?
He's heavily involved with like the NFL chat. He's into his NBA and all that sort of shit. But now and again, he'll talk like other sports, ice hockey, boxing, and stuff. But you know, the only time they actually even discuss boxing is when Floyd Mayweather then gets mentioned there.
Yeah, I see his name mentioned now and again, but I wasn't really sure who he was. Okay, nomination for Frankie Gavin. He's been on the commenting again. He says, I think Khan will stop Pac-Man. Call me delusional, just my opinion. Haha.
Delusional.
Oh, dear. Nominations of the week for Chris Eubank, Tracy Langley, whoever that is, and Johnny Nelson for splitting his trousers on live telly. What was this all about? Did Johnny Nelson split his trousers?
I've never seen that.
What happened here? What's the story here?
Johnny must have twisted round and the old sack has split his trousers. Ben, what happened?
Well, this is what happens. This is what happens when he wears tight clothes.
Yeah, there's a video of it. Someone's put it. I'll try and find it on Twitter and put it in the group. But I think he just turned towards Adam Smith, whatever he's called, and split his crotch on his pants. So
well, he always wears fucking clothes that are too tight for him and stuff.
See, Paul Smith had a haircut yesterday, didn't he? He's obviously seen that and got a bit of a semi and Bob's your auntie, yeah.
I got told last night that Frank Warren gets 25% of Paul Smith's purse. Hopefully he got 25% of his fucking wages last night for that fucking performance. That was fucking abysmal.
It's a shame he didn't cut his hair with a chainsaw, Andy.
Well, I think Speedo would say the best last week. Paul Smith could benefit with a lack of oxygen.
Classic hate from Smidlow, Mr. Controversy. Right, Bellew of the Week nomination for Chris Eubank Sr. He put a big picture of his nostrils up on Twitter and he said, when in the vicinity of nostrils, aka English, aka controversy, be sure to know that Dyson has nothing on me. Nothing.
I bet he can snort the nose candy, eh?
That's it.
He could take a rock bag.
That will explain his fucking erratic behaviour.
He was like, I never drink, but I might make an exception. Yeah, okay. He never drinks, he just snorts.
I need to remember that documentary on me Lou through years ago.
Oh, yes, I do, yeah.
Remember he was saying I didn't drink and that, and they captured him on camera fucking gulping champagne and that, didn't
they? Friggin' full of shit.
There's a wee bit darkness about Eubank, like.
Aye. Weirdo darkness.
I better believe it.
Right. George has sent this one in. Bellew of the Week nomination for Duco events over in New Zealand and Australia. I think these characters.
Yeah,
Apparently, according to Duco, Andy, they said on Sky Sports, they said, Manny Pacquiao seems to be very concerned about facing Jeff Horn in front of 55,000 at the Suncorp, as he is exploring a whole lot of options that may promise 38 million reasons to avoid Horn, but in all likelihood will turn out to be the equivalent of chasing rainbows, said Dean Lonergan, director at Duco events. They'll be gutted, Andy, to be losing out on the payday, wouldn't they?
Absolutely, but see that Dean Lonergan, see him, he's a prick, right? This is the company that had to go and get government funding to try and get Joseph Parker home advantage for Andy Ruiz, right? And they then went and done the same fucking thing in Australia to try and get Jeff Horn to fight against Manny Pacquiao, right? The only reason he's going to end up in Dubai is because they want to pay this fucking site fee that Duco, their amateur fucking shithouse promotion, can't even fucking sort out, because they've then got to go and get Bob Arm involved to get Joseph Parker's career pushing forward a little bit. They've not got the money. Go and read the comments with Sir Bob Jones, who in New Zealand, who's he used to box a bit back in the day and stuff like that. He fucking cannot stand the sport, by the way. As I says, they're a shower of wankers, shower of pricks. You know, the guys should go out the road to be offended and just argue with people just for the sake of it. This is just complete and utter shite again. Just smoking mirrors. They can't afford that.
They put that fight was on Facebook, didn't they?
Oh, fucking
try to sue folk and all that, didn't they?
The thing is, the simple fact of the matter is that they cannot get the money to get Pacquiao to agree to fight Jeff Horn. Simple as.
Correct.
Right, Bellew of the Week nomination. The next one comes in for The Guru. This is sent in from Harvey Specter. Barkley said, Pac-Man fucks up Khan even in 2019. Class and glass. And The Guru, Tommy Allen, jumps in and says, Khan is the Southpaw assassin. 50-50 fight.
I stand by that comment. If you look at through Amir's record, he's actually done really, really well against Southpaws, and most of them have been world champions. You've got Galazzo, who was going to hurt Khan. Again, Zab Judah, same thing. Paulie Malignaggi is not a puncher, good Southpaw though. David Alexander schooled him. If you look at these fights, what's that?
Paulie's not a Southpaw.
Paulie's orthodox, Guru.
No, Paul, who am I fucking thinking about?
Algeria?
No, Algeria's orthodox. You don't mean
he's orthodox as well.
Alexander.
David Alexander. If you look at these guys, they're all high level southpaws, and Khan's barely lost a round against them. I can see Amir winning the fight. It's one of them. See if Amir doesn't get knocked out, which could happen, obviously. I can win the fight. That's pretty much my point.
Wasn't Dimitri Salito a southpaw as well, or no? Well, maybe he wasn't.
Fuck those.
I'm not going to go to sleep tonight until I find this information out. Right, let's get on to the next one then, people. Nomination for GQ, which is this British sort of men's magazine. I think I've never actually read it. They have Anthony Joshua on the front, and it says "the greatest?" ? Anthony Joshua weighs in for the fight of the century.
Absolute dire, shameful.
Casual Central.
Fucking shameful.
Right, talking of the Ching, Oscar seems to be back on it apparently. Oscar De La Hoya says Canelo Alvarez would fight Conor McGregor at £160 and talks of disrespecting the sport.
Yeah, this is another thing that needs to be discussed actually when the guys like Skip Bayless going about how Floyd's going to get chinned off McGregor. Now, everybody knows I'm not a UFC fan and that, but was McGregor no fighting down at 145 fucking like less than 2 years ago? And he looked like an AIDS survivor. He looked like a Holocaust survivor, actually. Truth be told.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Right.
If he's fighting a boxer, it should be a Canelo or a Triple G.
Right. So to be safely hydrated, so he's going to fucking drain himself. You can just see Floyd demanding it today. Floyd will have him come down to like 144. Floyd says, I'll make that weight and then fucking no make it and all that shit, But let's just throw that in there. Sorry.
No problem, Andy. Yep, that's fine. Right, nomination for Give Me Sport. This was sent in from Josh Hussey. Apparently, Give Me Sport put up a Facebook message saying, on this day in 1965, Muhammad Ali gave us one of the greatest sporting photos ever. And then they put up the Phantom Punch. But as Josh Hussey points out, they're using the Phantom Punch photo thinking it was from the first fight. So I think they're getting a bit confused there, Give Me Sport, in an attempt to get some likes. Also, on the Muhammad Ali theme, this is sent in from Big Stiff Idiot. he sent one in for Lorenzo. Lorenzo put up a picture of Ali with the Phantom Punch, and then he put the next photo up was an upgrade button on the computer, and then a picture of Conor McGregor. And McGregor is an upgrade from Ali, apparently.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I think that was a bit of a troll, probably. Do you like that one, Smido?
Yeah, I love it.
Nomination for Matchroom Boxing. Who would have thought it? Round 12, they tweeted out last night. Both men... Oh, sorry, this is a tweet. This is actually for Matchroom Boxing and Jack Gladman. Sorry, Matchroom Boxing said, both men embrace at the bell after a busy last round. How did you score it? ? Scorecards coming up soon. And Jack Gladman said, I scored it level. Must be in John Lewis's account.
Fucking Christ, man. People should... You know, I see people like that. People shouldn't be allowed to breed. It should be like... It should be an injection that the human gets when he's born. He or she is born, right? They get injected with this wee thing that you cannot basically reproduce until you pass an exam or you got a certain amount of money in your bank account and all that sort of stuff. Because cunts like that shouldn't be allowed to breathe.
And you're saying like you should be working for the Stasi or something?
I've got. Hey, listen, see if I was Prime Minister, by the way, I'd be fucking tremendous. I know it'll last a week, but what a fucking week it'd be like. Oh, what? What? I'm fucking telling you. Will the Prime Minister please tell me about the prostitution bill, please? Ah, don't worry, pal, I fucking paid it.
Right, we're sticking on the Gavin McDonald theme. This is a good one as well. Coogan Cassius tweeted out, regardless of anything, the Gavin McDonald story has been nothing short of exceptional. And Robert Carkill got involved. This is a good one. He said, do you think, Coogan, that Vargas would want to fight Gavin O'Donnell again? I would highly doubt it. What an engine and heart.
Gavin O'Donnell.
Great engine and heart on Gavin O'Donnell. Vargas wouldn't want any of that again. That was a good one for him. Right, Craig Mastro sent this one in. Bellew, the week nomination for Deontay Wilder's haircut. It looked like something had sprinkled down from the top of the ring and landed in the back of his hair, and he hadn't had a chance to pull it out yet.
It looked like bird shit in the back of his head or something like that, didn't
it did. It was a bit bird shit. Here, Andy, you've gone a bit robotic on us there for the first time tonight, which is unfortunate. So I don't know if you want to do your jumping off and back on thing again. Were you going to say something there, Hater?
No, I was just laughing at the bird shit comment. It's true.
Right, we've finally got around to the business end of things now. David Odell, Bellew of the week for Ian John Lewis and that unbelievably bad scorecard from last night. How did he come up with 114 apiece? Just a pure cunt behaviour. And the final one, I think, AJS Glutes has sent one in. Bellew of the week for Steve Bunce for saying that Pacquiao Khan will be made at £149. Oh, no, there's another one. Andrew McCormack.
How does he know that's going to be £149?
You know what Buncey's like? He knows everything, Andy.
Fuck me.
You're sounding good again, by the way. Right, Andrew McCormack has sent this one in. Bellew of the week for Ian John Lewis, obviously, but also one for Eddie. Apparently, Eddie said the Conor versus Floyd fight is an embarrassment to boxing, but I would love to promote it.
You should also throw one in for Eddie Hearn for saying that this can fight against Pacquiao is not going to happen. He's been adamant all week it's not going to happen, eh? And I bet Ben's just going to drop that knowledge and let him know.
I wonder how many pencils he broke when he heard.
Exactly, Dave, exactly. Right, Daniel Fraser sent in the last one. For Fox Sports, they had Virgil Hunter in the commentary doing the colour analysis last night, and they had a little screenshot below him saying, Virgil Hunter at Premier Boxing, trainer of Gennady Golovkin.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
So that's it. Well, that's all the ones I've got. Anybody else want to add any in?
Yep, I've got
just Brian Rose. I think I put it in the group yesterday.
Brian Rose. What did he do again, Ben?
He put on Twitter, I don't think Vargas is in control. I think he's getting chased around the ring and McDonald is setting the pace. And he just carried on with this. Saying,
Jesus Christ.
Saying McDonald won the last 2 rounds. His head movement is causing Vargas problems. That's just carried on with that sort of line.
Happy to add him.
What about Mauricio Suleiman? He tweeted out last night saying, why would the British Boxing Board of Control demand Ian John Lewis to judge when he is a great referee? This is the problem. No, the problem is he's absolute fucking garbage, man. And I got one sent into me. This is a screenshot. It's a guy called @Choppy_Cookie. This is obviously news of the Murray Rosado fight getting made, right? So he says Morales versus Barrera, Hagler versus Hearns, Gatti versus Ward. Now Murray versus Rosado at Eddie Hearn. Yes.
There were some bad ones. There were some bad ones coming up last week. Oh, I'm going to have to hide behind the telly. Someone else put a thing under Eddie. Eddie, my telly's going to start sweating when these two get together.
Cringe as fuck. That is fucking brilliant.
He's got them hypnotised, hasn't he, like Tommy?
Boys.
Cringe to read some of these comments, man.
I just hope some of them are trolling.
I don't know, Dave. I don't know. Right, Thomas, have you got any to add?
I've no mate. I think there's only one obvious this week, and that's my pick. You can only go to one person.
Ian John Lewis.
That's going to be Ian John Lewis, isn't it?
Ian John Lewis for the guru. Andy, what about you?
Shazad.
Good old Shazad. Hey, to Dave, do you have any to add, or do you want us to give us your pick straight?
It's hard for me to vote for Ian John Lewis because I didn't see the fight. I am assuming that it was a terrible card and that the guy clearly won. But yes. I do have to add this was help. I was bitching about the IBF last night because I thought they were just it was just like not a good night for them according to the PBC card. So they had this fat ref with the IBF on his shirt who in the junior middleweight title fight, and I was complaining about that.
Was that Jeff Dodson, I think?
He was crap, and he talked like Forrest Gump and Scott Quigg had a baby. And Asian boxing, when I was complaining about the IBF, he says when you have two Japanese guys ranked in the IBF top 10 at 154 pounds, there's some serious questions that need to be asking. Yutaka Oishi and Yuki Nonaka, number 6 and number 7. This is the IBF's rankings. I mean, I hated them already for their farce at heavyweight. But yeah. So yeah, thanks to Asian Boxing for that. And if you're into that sort of Japanese fights and stuff, go to asianboxing.info. Follow Asian Boxing on Twitter.
Thanks, David. What about your Bellew of the week?
Oh, yeah, I guess I have to pick somebody. The greatest, for putting it on the front of the magazine, the greatest.
The GQ.
Putting Joshua there. Yeah.
Yep. Smitho, you've unsheathed yourself, ready to lay into somebody. Go on.
Oscar, that's my nomination, please.
Flip me, we've got a right wide range tonight. I'm going for Robert Carkill, who said about Gavin O'Donnell. So, Ben, it's all down on your shoulders, I think.
Yeah, you've put it on my head. See, I was going to vote for Eddie Hearn because the Pacquiao thing I thought was hilarious, but it's going to have to be the judging from last night. It was a joke, wasn't it? 114. So we'll go with Ian John Lewis.
It's been a while. I'm sure Mr. John Lewis has probably won the award in the past, and this is maybe the only award he's going to win for a while if the British Boxing Board of Control sack him off. So congratulations, Mr. Ian John Lewis. We're coming right to the end, guys. 22:11. We did start a bit late. Sorry about all the technical problems and the sound problems more that at the beginning, but I think we've managed to have rectified that sufficiently. Don't forget, if you still love us, to go over to the YouTube page whenever it's working and give us a like, subscribe, and all those things. And leave us a review on iTunes. If you want to slag us off, then feel free. We don't really give a shit. Right, final questions. Let's get through these. Andy, this is right up your street. It's from Brian King, or the Hardcore Helmet, as Andy Pops has labelled him. He said, another question for the pod. Is the Hagler-Hearns fight the most overhyped fight in history?
Yes.
I thought Hagler dominated the majority of the fight and Hearns was fucked after the first. I actually think, says Mr. King, Minter versus Hagler was more competitive for as long as it lasted.
It was one of the most. It is a great fight. Don't get me wrong, but it gets way overrated. Arnold's a Freemason. Like Arnold's a fucking boxing. Telling you right now, it's absolutely. I don't know where to put it. Actually, I need to kind of sit and think about where I would put it, but I would definitely say it's definitely in the top 30 fights. Don't know where Tommy would put it, but I'm trying to think. Well, I've mentioned what my best fights of all time are. Thriller Manila, for example. But I think one of the most overrated fights ever is that fight. It's just like people also saying that but Gatti and the Ward trilogy. That is one of the most overrated trilogies in boxing history.
I agree with that, Andy. Actually, the first fight
I preferred the.
Sorry, Tommy.
I preferred the sorry, mate. I always says I preferred the Holyfield and Waterologies to Gatti Ward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the first fight was brilliant, but the second couple weren't that good. I actually prefer the Vasquez-Marquez trilogies myself.
Yeah, definitely, man. And even the other Marquez against Israel Vargas, he had 4 or 5 fights here, didn't he?
Yeah, 4 fights.
5 times. 4 fights.
4 fights, aye.
Yeah, Marquez Vasquez.
These fights were unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I don't know what I said. I meant Marquez Vasquez. I don't know what I said, but that was what I meant anyway. Apologies if I came across wrong. Did you want to say anything there, Dave?
Just that Barrera Morales, far better trilogy.
Yeah, the first Barrera Morales I think was probably one of my favourite fights of all time. Excellent fight. And I think that the strange thing, not that I want to get in the black hole about that, was Morales got the first one, but I thought Barrera won it. And then Barrera got the second one, but I actually thought Morales probably won it, and then I can't even remember who won the third one.
I thought Barrera won. I thought Barrera rightly won the third fight, but I had it the same as you. Barrera definitely won the first fight, and Morales definitely won the second fight for me. Yep.
Right, who have we got? Hey to Dave. This is up your street from George Atwell. Imagine this, Dave. You're in a world title fight. You've just come off the floor from being knocked down, and you stumble back to your corner at the end of the round. Who would be the last person you would want to be your corner man in your time of need? And George Atwell says, my choice would be that bloke who was in the corner for Billy Joe Saunders against Arthur Akovov. Who would you least want to be shouting at you there in that corner, Dave, when you're in trouble?
I didn't see that fight, so I'm not really sure what this guy was doing, but I heard many tales about him. He may have won Belly of the Week. For me, being American, I would have to be probably with an American. So I would really hate if I was coming back to Tim Lane, the way Chris Algieri did after Pacquiao floored him.
Tim Lane. Anybody else want to? Anybody else want to throw any names in?
Stone.
That Tim Lane
one. Stone.
Stoney, aye. Fucking jack off.
About him. He was John Ruiz's trainer, wasn't he?
He was trying to get him right up for the Roy Jones fight, wasn't he?
He was batshit, wasn't he?
Merkerson pushed him off the stage.
He fucking crazy.
Merkerson knocked him out,
That's right.
Did they not also fucking get chucked away for his corner at one point?
Yeah.
Tell the referees a fucking jack off and that, and Larry Merchant and that. Here's a classy dude.
Then he says I never says nothing to that guy. He just abused him for about 10 minutes, squatting camera. I never said nothing to that guy. Remember when he grabbed the belt here in Germany when they thought Ruiz got robbed? He grabbed the fucking belt off him, started walking in the ring with it.
That's right.
Started attacking him, didn't they? Oh, he's fucking crazy, man. This highlight reel is unbelievable. There's a highlight reel of all the shit he done on YouTube, man. See if you've not seen it, go and watch it. Norman Stone. He's an absolute legend.
He was ex-army, wasn't he? He was really high pumped up.
Aye, he was. But
I don't know what that
he says he loved his fighter, and he did, man, didn't he?
Eskimo pussies mighty cold.
Right. Final question, and then we're going to get out of here. Smido's already disappeared. He's had enough. Ben, question for you from Danny Young. It's coming while we've been on the air. He says, can you ask the panel, you specifically, Ben, if they think Luke Campbell can ever win a world title? I'm not so sure he has it in him. What do you think, Ben?
Specifically me? I don't know. In that division. I got a Matchroom press release this week, and in it, Luke Campbell said he's not fazed by Mikey Garcia. So, yeah, exactly.
There's no way that fight's ever happening.
That division at the moment, I don't see him winning anything at the world level.
But I think you need to see him against Mendy again, don't you?
To be honest, last night, I will say that's what he did say he wanted to do. He said this year, 2017, he didn't really talk. Eddie Hearn did say they want a world title, but Luke Campbell said he wants to avenge that.
Yep.
Do you think if they did have the rematch, Ben, do you think he would beat Mendy this time? It's hard to say, isn't it, whether he's learnt enough, because we really don't know. But what do you think?
He says that he learnt more in this camp than he has in any other camp before. Yesterday's opponent really didn't show us that. But he could beat him, I suppose, in a rematch, yeah. But going further than that, world level, I don't think he'll do it at the moment.
There's obvious talent there. but his talent is something he's not just enough of.
Yeah. Right, I think that'll do us for tonight, boys. It's been a mammoth show, to 2 hours and 45 minutes altogether. Not all of discernible content that you could actually make any sense of, unfortunately, but we got there in the end. We got the show out there. And if you're on Facebook, don't forget to like the page. You've got plenty going on over there. Tommy the Guru Allen was on. We always love a bit of Tommy. Andy Patterson as well. Dave the Hater Lowback. Ben has stayed on with us. Smido was on the line. He disappeared. Amir Khan was on as well. No Donny this week, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get him back on for next week. But thanks very much for listening, everybody, and we shall speak to you next week. All the best. Bye.